Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the World Supertech Series Season 2, and we are live from Santa Cruz do Sul, and once again we're in Brazil, and I am once again joined by my co-commentators, and I've got Liam Jenkins.
Hello.
Who is hoping that his internet will hold up for the duration of tonight's broadcast, and my brother Ben Davis.
Evening, everyone.
So Liam Jenkins, Ben Davis, how are we feeling about tonight's chances? Obviously we've got quite a close battle at the top of the championship between the two GT Amiga boys, but after that it's a bit of a gap, isn't it, Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the opening 3 rounds of this championship. The GT Amiga boys have just literally dominated it, so they haven't been beaten between the two of them. Calamy's taken 4, Nilsson taking 2 victories so far out of the 6 rounds. But I think if one man can really take a fight to those guys, it's going to be Jesper Tolberg. He firmly kind of slotted himself into P5 in the standings at the moment on 95 points. We'll be definitely looking to score at least a podium here today.
He certainly will, and of course Jesper missed the first round of the season as well, so he's doing exceptionally well considering that, and the fact that he won the game stock car game in the competition only sort of just before the start of the season as well. So he's not an experienced driver in this game, but we all know about Jesper Tolberg's ability, and he was voted #1 in the top 20 drivers of all time in the TouringProSeries fairly recently. Myself, I was a panelist. Ben, did you agree with that list, or was it one of those that perhaps you didn't agree with so much?
Yeah, I mean, there was certainly some debate between the panelists, and yeah, I think Jesper has to be #1 for what he's achieved in all different forms and series within the TPS. So I think, yeah, he's definitely #1. But for sort of the other top 5 places, they were certainly hotly contested, and definitely some debating was going on. But yeah, Jesper's certainly #1, and it'll be interesting to see if he can make any inroads in GT Amiga this time round.
It certainly will. We've got at the top of the timesheet so far, we've got Ivar Calamy's, and this time I have remembered to turn top speeds off after I joined the game, and Calamy's is doing particularly well. I've left the track map up just for a moment, just so you can see the nature of this track, and it is a particularly long start-finish straight, which we should see a good use of push-to-pass along there, Liam, and we've seen that does provide good racing, but apart from that, it's quite a twisty track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of those ones where setup won't make too much of a difference. It's going to be down to pure driver ability, and once again, this stock car series is suited to it absolutely perfectly. It's got a perfect elevation changes all over the place, great flow of corners, and it's really going to separate the men from the boys on this track, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all going to be all about driving ability, I think, and whether or not we see someone who's going to be able to take the fight to the GT Amiga boys, we'll have to wait and see. Just a few minutes left of this session. We were hoping that Chris Butcher was going to join us for an onboard lap. So Ben, if you can go and have a quick look, see if you can find him, that'd be good. But we've certainly got some interesting drivers at the front. Nuno Silva, new boy to the championship. He's currently in the garage, but he, in that striking livery, Liam, is currently 3rd in the timings, and he also signed up with Def after his name in the forum. Presumably he is actually deaf. I assume that's the reason he signed up like that, so which makes it even more remarkable.
Yeah, it's always great to see kind of sim racers overcome these problems, but to see him have that kind of pace as well is just truly phenomenal. So I'm sure it will be definitely the best this afternoon. But just take a look at the time as well. Once again, GT Amiga proven that they're a force to be reckoned with. Both of those.
Yeah, they're both right at the top of the timesheets, 18.9s on for both of them. I expect. Oh, Tommy Nilsson's going quickly on this lap, 2/10 quicker currently. I was going to say I expect no one to improve on that, but Nilsson's going to romp away with this lap and smash the time. I should think they are allowed to run over the curb there and onto that concrete runoff. That is permissible, and he hasn't actually beaten the overall time, but he has beaten that time so far. So Ben, looks good for the GT Amiga boys.
Yeah, it seems another predictable sort of result, really. But I mean, this track is certainly very different to the others we've had. Lots of elevation changes and tricky braking zones. So it's certainly a driver's track, and it seems that the GT Amiga guys again have got a lot of practice. I think they've done practice offline, perhaps sandbagging again. They haven't done many laps, and in fact, no one has really on looking on live races. But yeah, it seems they're still couple of tenths clear of the field, the rest of the field led by Jesper Tolberg. But I think this track could quite easily lead to mistakes. And we did see Ivor Calamies at the last track make a little mistake and cost him a couple of places. So, and this track certainly lends itself to mistakes. So I wonder if he can keep it on the road this time.
It certainly will be interesting to see whether Calamies can take another win, and if he does so or not will be entirely dependent, I'm sure, on his teammate. Jesper Talborg out on track at the moment. He'll be looking to take the fight to the boys at the front of the field. Let's just drop back, see if we can find one or two other people in the pack, as Chris Butcher, I think, has just joined us. Potentially. He may have done, maybe not. Chris, are you there?
I'm here.
Excellent news. Right, okay. Basically, Chris has agreed to do an onboard lap and talk us around an onboard lap, so hopefully he can hear us. We'll just have a quick look and see if we can get Chris to do a sort of an onboard lap for us. So you're heading into turn 1 now, Chris. Talk us through it.
You've got to be really careful on your braking point into turn 1. There's a good risk of running too wide. Turn 2 there, easy to take flat, but you've got to be careful because the car can get away from you. And coming up to this little section here, there's a few different lines. You can see Lynn's in front of me taking the wide line. I like to stay in the middle of the track, and you've got to be careful not to get too much curb there, otherwise, oh dear. Otherwise the car will unsettle itself. And I've just ballsed that up. Sorry.
It's alright. You're still alright. Keep going.
Third gear here. You can pretty much plant the throttle on your way out. Now here, there's a few different lines I've seen people taking. I've sort of adopted Jesper's line, which is to keep it tight through here, and then you can carry a lot more speed through the second part, and then run it wide again, and then just plant the throttle to get it back to the apex. And then into the final turn, just a quick dab on the brakes, get the car sideways, control it on the throttle, and drive to the line.
And how much of the runoff do you think you can use at a final turn that makes it beneficial? Do you think using lots of runoff is a good idea, or not so?
Personally, I don't think you want to use too much because you risk the car bottoming out on the curb, depending on how you've got your car set up. So I'm just putting 2 wheels on the curb.
Fair enough. Well, I'll take away the track map now from the broadcast, and we'll just roll with watching you get really sideways. Good luck today, Chris. I won't put you off for too much longer. Just 3 minutes 10 seconds until qualifying. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
So that was Chris Butcher there with us, talking about a lap of this Santa Cruz do Sol track. Looks pretty tricky on board, doesn't it, Liam? I don't know whether other drivers are going to be able to find exactly the same sort of lines work for them, but it looks like there's a multitude of different lines people can take.
Yeah, I think again this is what kind of separates this track from the boys, if you will, because there are multiple lines to take. Now you're gonna see the giants, if you will, of this league, the guys like Calamies, Nilsson, maybe Butcher, as said, who he described his lines earlier on, of course Jesper Tolberg. Take the more aggressive lines, perhaps try something risky during the race to just see if it will give them a bit more momentum. Of course, these guys would have done hours and hours of practice. I think that overall the main point of this track is to just drive a line that you feel comfortable with. Because if you're trying to adapt to a line that you've seen a guy faster than you drive, but you're not comfortable with it, then you're going to be heading in trouble, and that's what's going to cost you position. So providing that you can just keep the car in a straight line, do your job you know you can do, and just drive the line you're most comfortable with, then we should see a fairly clean race for most of the guys out there.
Indeed, we shall. The lap times are dropping off a little bit. Cullen runs a little bit too wide at turn 1. You can again use that exit through turn 1 and bounce over the curbs as much as you like through 2 and 3 as well. The rules are a little bit lax on this circuit for cutting, as we see Navarro spinning out there, and his teammate Ray Lilly has left the THR team and is looking for another team. He's currently driving an independent livery. Let's see if we can pick him up. Oh, and another one back. Van der Ven has picked up a teammate as well. We'll see if we can find him, and he is actually still in. Helpfully, he's Andy van der Veld. So Van der Ven's teammate is Van der Veld. Very confusing for me, but we'll see how that goes. Mike Bell is off the track and in the wall, so we won't follow him. Van der Warren there. Here's Ray Lilly, and you can see he's driving with a Duracell livery as an independent driver. It's actually a nice looking livery, so yeah, so do I. It's really nice. So better than the livery he was using before, actually, for DHR. So see how Ray can do, and he has been practicing lots, and I'm sure he'll be a force to be reckoned with at the back of the field, and Ockerklint on the lap as well. So give us some tips, boys. Do we think GT Amiga will round out the top front of the grid?
Well, looking at practice results, it would be a safe bet to place your money on, but you never know in qualifying. We've seen plenty of shocks at, in previous races, or guys that have almost quite pipped the GT Megas or just lost a little bit of time in a certain sector. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, traffic, I think, around this track is going to be a big factor. With around 27 cars taken to the circuit, it's going to be no easy task to get some clean air and get a decent lap in, but we should have to see what happens during the qualifying session. But right now, I think the main bet would be to try and get people thinking would be which of the two GT Megas will be sat on that pole position.
Yeah, it looks like those two are the two men to beat, as Van der Ven follows his teammate Van der Velt, and Van der Velt's number 90, Van der Ven number 40, very helpful. Robert Wiesenmuller once again has produced a spotter guide, which you can find on the forum somewhere. I think he's posted it on Facebook as well. So be interesting to see whether any of those drivers further down the list can poke some fun at the leaders, and obviously Nuno Silva, as we were discussing earlier, is one of the main drivers who may be able to do so. He's up in 4th position at the moment, so he looks pretty good, doesn't he, Liam?
Absolutely, and to come into a series as competitive as this and sit in 4th position, sat right amongst you, you're just behind Jesper Thorberg, you're in front of Chris Butcher, Henderson, Sene, Wiesenmuller, Callan, some of the biggest names in Touring Pro Series. That is a mighty, mighty task to try and accomplish, and it's just great to see a new face in the top 5 as well.
So, as we head into qualifying once again for the, God knows how many times we've done qualifying this season, let me see if I can work it out, 7th time this season this is going to be qualifying, and we're on board with Tommy Nilsson as he exits the pit lane and goes out onto the track. And Nilsson, possibly the one to beat. He's got Chris Butcher all over the back of him as he exited the pit lane, so Butcher perhaps looking for someone to learn from. But I think Nilsson looks very strong, and I think Calamise, his teammate, does as well. So those two, I think it's difficult to look past anyone else considering prior form. Oh, as Nilsson gets a little bit wide, he might drift onto the grass. There are some corners here that can catch drivers out, and that was one of them, Ben. And it's going to be interesting to see if anyone makes some mistakes.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this track certainly lends itself to mistakes. Like a couple of dodgy braking zones sort of down over the crest of the hill.
The crest.
Crest of the hill. There we go. Yeah, where we just saw Nilsson running wide. That is like really key area to get your braking absolutely spot on. Lots of time to be gained, but also lots of time to lose as well. So yeah, it's certainly up to the drivers not to make mistakes in this qualifying session. And yeah, if you do, that's your run ruined, and you have to try and get out there again. And yeah, it's traffic management is also going to be key. So as always, but yeah, I think if the GT Amiga guys can get some clean laps in, I think they'll be tough to beat. To be honest.
I think that's the key. I think that's the key about this form of qualifying. Just a 10-minute session. That's quite a short session, really. It's like in Q3 in F1. You only get 1 or 2 runs. And the fact that the lap's slightly longer than it was last time, it's 1 minute 20-ish or 1 minute 18 we've seen, but about that sort of range. And guys out on the track will be looking to avoid the back markers as best they can, as Nilsson goes through the first sector, and we'll see what sort of sectors he can pull out, whether he can pull 3 together and immediately set himself up for a good qualifying session. 18.771, the fastest time he set. Fastest time we've actually seen at all on live races, and you can follow live races by going to www.touringproseries.com/live timing, and you can follow all of the current timings that guys are putting out, every sector time and so on. But Nilsson has kept together quite a tidy lap so far, Liam, and this will definitely be good enough for a provisional pole because he's the first driver to set a lap time, but we'll see whether it gets beaten later on.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart strategy as well. I mean, GT Omega know that they're dominant here, and they just needed that free track space, because give it 2 or 3 minutes, that track will be filled to the brim, full of other cars as Tommy Nilsson rounds the final corner onto the straight, and this will be the benchmark time. Will it be a 118? And it's a 118 Simpson, so a very good there indeed by Tommy Nilsson, and if you call that a banker lap, there's always bank for at least a top 3 there. considering the rest of the drivers on the field. As you can see, Danny van der Ven does a 120. Let's see what his teammate Ivar Calamies can do. Of course, the championship leader and the force to be reckoned with here in the World Supertech Series. As he rounds the final corner, is it going to be anything you can do, I can do better? Once again, between these GT Mega drivers, he crosses the line, and it's a 119.1, so Tommy Nilsson seemingly has the upper hand at this stage.
And Talbot said a 119.1 as well. Kenneth Yerman pops up into 6th place. He's done a 19.9, pretty average, you'd have to say. McNaughton pops up into 4th provisionally with a 19.7. So drivers setting their lap times now all over the place. Let's see what Nuno Silva can do. 7.7 seconds down. He's a long way down, isn't he? And got some work to do from there. Chris Butcher's on an out lap. He obviously abandoned that lap. Muller 1.1 seconds down. He's got some work to do as well. Kenneth Yerman's flying up in 8th on his next best lap. Let's see what Muller can do as he comes around the final corner. A little bit too wide there, Muller. Has got some work to do, I think. Yeah, 20.0. Puts him up in 8th at the moment. Callan's going quickly as well. Let's head to Kenneth Yerman, who has set the green sector point so far. And that one didn't register, which is handy. Let's see what he can do as he comes towards the end of the lap. Runs a little bit wide all the way up to the edge of the track, but he's okay, still within those white lines, and doesn't run onto the grass. And Liam, coming toward the end of the lap, let's see what he can do. 7 tenths down, it's not quite good enough.
Not yet, still 5 minutes left in the session, so plenty of time for improvement. And it looks like for now he's got a free track in front of him, but as he comes around the final corner, then does he go a bit wide a little bit? We've seen a couple of drivers do that this afternoon already, as he comes across the line, and he goes 4th. So nonetheless, a very respectable time there by Kenneth Yerman, but it's not quite enough yet. Oh, and that's not going to be very handy to Alexandra Sene, just in front of him, as we check on Ryan Callan. Now he's coming around the final corner, and he's had a bit of a disaster lap, it seems, and he's already a couple seconds down. So 5 minutes left, as he said, he will get at least another 2 shots, providing there's another car in the wall there.
Oh,
there's a tyre rolling across.
There's a tyre there. God, that looked like Vinicius Ferreira. I wonder if there was contact with him and another car. Let's see if we can find Vinicius Ferreira. He is currently in 20th, so let's have a quick look, see if we can see a replay here. Oh, it looks like he got on the grass, lost it all by himself into the wall. Oh, look at that damage he's caused. And he'll have to go back to the pit lane, get out on another lap, and he's doing so. So Ferreira up there. Ray Lilly in 19th place at the moment. He's going green, so he might be able to get up in amongst the front runners. Look at Ryan Callan down there in 18th position. He's got some serious work to do.
Yeah, he won't be the happiest guy on the grid at the moment, that's one thing for sure. And he's still trying to get faster, but he's got more traffic in front of him, and this is not what he wants. If he wants a top 10, which he desperately desires, his championship hasn't exactly gone to perfect plans, as he tries to get out of the way of some traffic now. They may have to move, of course. If they're not on a lap, they won't have to move, and that can damage you. If you've got a slower car, they're under no obligation to move out of the way. And with a circuit as tight as this, you're seeing it's already becoming an issue for Ryan Callan, and as a car gone off there, I think they're both sensibly may have moved out of the way, whether that was voluntarily or no.
I don't think
Callan
so.
comes around the final corner, and this looks a lot quicker than what he did last time. He's on a personal best. Will it be competitive enough? And he moves up to 14th, but it's still not where he wants to be.
It's not at all. So that's Callan up there. Let's see what Nuno Silva's lost his front bumper. Look at that. So Silva up in 6th though, but has some work to do. Chris Butcher is improved on his... Oh, he's 4 tenths up on his previous best. This could really move him up. Talbot up to 2nd. Look at that. 1 tenth off Tommy Nilsson. And Talbot goes to the front row again, splitting the GT Amiga guys. He gets the back end way out of line. He'll have to abandon. He's just about got time for another run. Butcher up to 3rd. Look at that. He's another THR driver to split the GT Amiga guys. So Nilsson on pole with the stunning lap time, you have to say, of an 18.792. I don't think anyone will get close to that. And Talbot in 2nd, Butcher in 3rd. So could this be a recovery drive from Butcher, bringing back into the championship hunt, Liam?
It very well could be. I mean, we said earlier on, I think it was on a lot of people's lips, and I think we must have thought it as well, that perhaps the championship was beginning to slip out of reach of these midfield contenders. But Calamies, the leader of the championship, the man who's run so many races this season already, down in 4th. Butcher firmly slots there in P3. Jesper Tolberg just a 10th away from Tommy Nilsson. That pole position is not out of reach, providing he can get another lap in. Talking of another lap, Callan will get one. He's going to need it after that. And he goes back into the pit lane. I think he will get one more if he left now. But Adrian McNaughton also on a personal best in P8 at the moment. But Nuno Silva once again impressing at the moment. He's in P6, as you said, without a front nose. And Adrian McNaughton goes into the top 5, so very Respectable lap by him at the moment. Very good indeed.
Well, you see, Liam, look at the lap times he's... oh, and Visa Miller pops up into 5th. I was just going to say, there's a big gap between 4th and 6th. There's lots of drivers on 19.6s, 19.7s, but there's not so many drivers lower than that, so obviously that pace is there. Visa Miller in 5th, that's a great lap time for him. McNaughton in 6th, likewise. Let's see what else people can do. You were mentioning Visa Miller popping up into 5th place. Henderson has a lot of work to do. He's not normally back down in 11th position. This isn't even a green sector, so let's see what he can do from here. We'll just follow on board with Henderson just for a little minute whilst we figure out what he can do. He's got plenty of work to do. Paolini's green. Ryan Callan, I wonder if he's left the pit lane yet. 1 or 2 drivers further down, we'll just check on them now. Tamas Fott is a long way down in 18th position. Ocker Clint in 24th has just improved. Brandon Warren, Ray Lilly and Ivan Navarro are doing great at 19th and 20th compared to what they normally do. Davey van der Ven in 16th. Ryan Callan up in 15th, down in 15th place compared to where he is in the championship. That's not good at all for Callan.
No, absolutely not. And with a race crucial as this, we're around halfway in the season now. It's just almost do or die time. If you want to be a championship contender, now's the time to stamp your authority all over the racetrack. And Callan's not doing that at the moment, but the guys are. The guys like Chris Butcher, the guys like Jesper Tolberg could really be a threat to GT Omega's title hunt in both drivers and constructors. So I have to see what their teammates can do respectively. As Danny Asbury will get another lap in, currently 27. That's a lot lower than he wants to be, of course, the man who made an exceptional Virtual Clio Series preview.
Yeah, he's a new boy to this championship, Danny, and he's joining Andy Johns in 1.1 Motorsport. And at the moment, he's not set a lap time, and neither has Eric Tveit, and both of those have been up near the front runners in the Touring Pro Series before. So this could be a bit of a surprise from Asbury. I know it's his first race, but he obviously hasn't been able to get a lap time in so far. He's just 3/10 down at the moment. Checking back on the front runners, I don't think anyone's on a decent lap at the moment. Henderson, oh, and Calamise goes purple in the first sector. We'll just check on Asbury in a minute. Tveit is out as well, but Calamise going purple. This could be interesting.
Absolutely, this man is on a mission right now. He's not going to be content with 4th position. The clock strikes 0, and it's last chance saloon end for these drivers. There's barely anything separating the top 4, just a matter of tenths of seconds.
Oh, Butcher purple!
All the 2nd, 3rd and 4th have all purple. This is going to be extremely tense. What can Tommy Nilsson do as well? He must be quaking right now if he doesn't realise what's going on. When he gets back to the garage, he's going to be in for a slight bit of a shock. Calamise is flying, Talbot is flying, Chris Butcher is flying. This is going to be an exceptional end to a very quick qualifying session. Calamise is quicker in the 2nd sector as he comes around in towards the penultimate corner. Is this going to be enough for pole position? He's going to need a stormer of a final corner now. Gets onto the apex very neatly and brings the car across the line. Is it going to be enough for pole? No, it's not. He stays
fourth. Stays fourth. Here comes Butcher towards the 2nd sector now. Oh, and he's only 200ths down on pole position. This could put him right on the front row here for Chris Butcher. Gets a bit sideways. He's following Ryan Callan. And Ryan Callan will complete this lap time. He is also green. Butcher comes through the final corner now. He's using Callan's slipstream. Is this going to be good enough for pole? It is! Butcher goes on pole by 0.06 of a second. But it's not all over yet because Talborg is on a lap. No, he's not. He's ruined it. 15 seconds down. Butcher takes pole then. Nilsson, is he on a lap? Is he on a decent lap? He's gone through the 1st sector. I don't think he's set even a personal best, and it's definitely not purple. He's got a lot of work to do.
I tell you what, that is absolutely exceptional for that young man. This man's sim racing career has excelled over the past couple of years, and he's really kind of firmed himself as a regular Touring Pro Series top 5 contender, but he's kind of been out of reach in the World Supertech Series, so to finally not only get in the midst with the likes of Talborg and Nilsson, but to get pole position provisionally is just absolutely astounding. And we heard from him earlier, and he was giving his insights about the track, but that's just incredible.
That's it.
Qualifying over then, and Chris Butcher is your pole sitter, and how happy must that man be right now, Toby?
Oh, he must be over the moon, quite frankly. He's set a fastest lap time that we've ever seen so far for this track by 0.05 of a second from Tommy Nilsson's 7.71, and Tommy Nilsson has now done a 7.9, and that's just not good enough, is it, if Chris is setting those kind of lap times. Just an exceptional performance from Butcher there, and you'd have to say that that 18.7, putting him on pole, alongside Tommy Nielsen, this could be an interesting battle between those two, especially considering the push-to-pass element and the fact that this track has an extremely long start-finish straight. So, Ben, just a rundown of the times. If you're there, Ben.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, just cut out for a moment there. Yeah, no, that was a great qualifying session. We had Chris Butcher setting his personal best by about 0.4 of a second in that session alone. That's an outstanding effort by Chris Butcher. Tommy Nielsen pretty much also matching his PB. Jesper Thorberg also beating his PB, and Callum will be disappointed with 4th, without a doubt. And as I was saying, he just made a couple of mistakes in his early runs, and obviously only got one relatively decent lap in, and that was enough to just put him down in 4th place.
Yeah, I think Callum's, being the championship leader as well, he needs to keep that going. GT Omega, as we've said, been unbeaten in the opening 6 races of this championship. Between him and Nilsson, have won all 6, and it's been incredible to watch. But now we're going to see perhaps a passing of a torch as Chris Butcher rises through and just blitzes that pole position time. He's going to be filled with such confidence as well going into this race, Toby.
Yeah, he's just taking the fight to them, isn't he? And THR Reds, GT Amiga, THR Green, GT Amiga, the battle between those two teams looks quite good. Adrian McNaughton for Storm Racing has slotted into 5th place, and then we've got another THR car with V-Simula. It's a great mix of cars up there, and it's a great mix of teams as well. And Nuno Silva, we were looking at him earlier on, he could only manage 8th place, but still a great result for a newcomer to the league, so we'll be watching with him in earnest. So Ben, the qualifying is over. Warm-up is nearly over. What do you think guys are preparing for right now? Do you think they're focusing on their push-to-pass braking zones, or what do you think?
Yes, probably that. And I mean, they'll certainly have put race fuel in it. I mean, they wouldn't be stupid enough to keep going around trying to do quali laps. But yeah, they'll be bringing race fuel, trying to feel how the car's feeling through, particularly through that middle technical sector we've got here. Yeah, quite possibly using push to pass to try and get where their braking zones is when they're using it. There's only really one place to use it, and that is down that fairly long back straight we've got here, and that's the only real overtaking point at the end of that straight. So, I mean, the rest of it is fairly twisty and technical, as I said, and it'd be very difficult to get past through any of that twisty section. So it's really follow the leader through there. So I think push to pass down that main straight is certainly going to play a big part. And yeah, I mean, who's to say Chris Butcher can't pull out of the bag and stay ahead? As I say, it's not the easiest track to overtake. So if you're distinctly quicker than the guy ahead, you aren't guaranteed to get past him. So yeah, I mean, tactics are going to be very interesting with push to pass, but also tyres as well. I think this track's pretty heavy on tyres. Lots of long sweeping left-handers through that middle sector, and also quite easy to lock brakes going over the breast or crest of hills. So yeah, tyre wear may also play a part, which it hasn't really done this season so far. So it'll be interesting to see if the GT Amiga guys have sorted that out in their practice before the race. And yeah, I don't think Chris Butcher's done a huge amount of practice. I was talking to him earlier, and I mean, I think that lap just came out of the blue. But yeah, well done to him. It was a great effort by him.
Indeed it is. It really was a stunning lap time and a stunning performance. So the championship leader, Ivar Kalamis, he'll be looking to do something about that, and you'd have to say he's in a good position to do it from. But still, he would have rather been on the front row, I should think, rather than down in the second row. But that said, I mean, this is the closest we've ever seen. Oh, and there's a huge pile-up here! Oh, God knows what was happening there! Well, lucky it's warm-up and it's not anything more than that, but that was very interesting for a moment or two. See if we can get a quick replay on board with Tveit as he comes towards it. Oh, look at that, just nowhere to go for any of them. And Tveit ended up on the banking and in the air, so his session is over. But Liam, I mean, Talborg is snooping around as well. He can be a threat from where he is in third on the grid.
One thing we've learnt about Jesper Talborg throughout every single division in Touring Pro Series is never write this man off for a victory. He's probably the most illustrated driver in the Touring Pro Series, and he's earned that title for a good reason. and I'm sure we're going to see him very much in the midst of things today, hunting for a victory. But while we're on the topic of pile-ups, if you look into the past of the actual race starts here in the World Supertech Series, we've had our fair share, if you will, of little pile-ups and guys just getting a bit too early on the throttle. And if we see that today with a track like this as well, I think that's going to be quite crucial as Kevin Enderman gets very sideways. But that's going to be quite crucial. The race start for these guys needs to be perfect, because if you're starting in that midfield, especially for guys like Ryan Callan, the last thing he wants is to be caught up in a silly mistake.
Indeed, it could be the end of your race if you are caught up in a silly mistake, and it's one of those. It's one of those that you make a mistake and you're going to be bitten by it. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, Liam, we're heading towards the race, and we're going to wait for everyone to join the grid. I'm just going to send a quick message out to the drivers. So your thoughts? I mean, where do you think Callan can come through the field? He's down in 12th.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. We're not too sure what his actual true pace is around this track, because for a lot of that qualifying session he was held up in a little bit of traffic and making small mistakes. It'll be interesting to see what he can do from down there, but one thing is for sure, that man will be hungry for some big points this afternoon. He's going to need it as well, with all his main contenders around him, like Chris Butcher, like Nilsson, like Tallberg, all up there in the top 4. And just look at Adrian McNaughton and Wiesemuller as well. We've seen these guys had great seasons so far in terms of being caught in the midst of the action, having some fantastic battles. So I'm sure those two will be ones to watch as well. But what about Nuno Silva in his debut, qualifying in 8th place? That is an astounding feat for him.
It certainly is. I mean, and people like Danny Asbury just didn't get anywhere near. I mean, where did Danny even end up? 19th position. So it's obvious that these cars are tricky to drive, and it'll be interesting to see how those new people can race against the other people, won't it, Ben?
Yeah, definitely, and as I said, a very, very twisty infield section, so I think we'll see some incidents through there, and if anyone's brave enough to try and make a move through there, it'll be difficult to get past.
It certainly will. As the fields come through the back section of the track, they're coming slowly towards the pit limiter line, and we'll just flick to the cars themselves. My bad for not being on one of them. Tommy Nilsson in 2nd place. He's just coming through the boot section of the track. I'm calling it the boot, because it looks like that on the track map, which I'll just quickly display for you now as the field are coming through. This is quite a rapid formation lap, actually, it has to be said, but as you can see, there's a couple of corners on there that do look a bit like a boot. So as the field come through towards the back end of the track, they're beginning to slow down. Chris needs to slow down a hell of a lot more than he has for the field to be able to catch up, and we'll see what happens. I mean, this is a new starting procedure. Slightly different rules. They're supposed to be engaging their pit limiter as soon as possible now as well, so should be interesting. So as the field head round the final couple of corners, they should already be on the formation lap now, speed limiter now, excuse me, obviously on the formation lap, and you can see the front of the field. It's Tommy Nilsson on your left, Chris Butcher on your right. Behind him is Jesper Talborg. The fielder just lining up in the background. This looks pretty good, actually. And looks like we're going to have a clean start this time around, and Wiesemuller is a little bit too far back for my liking, but we'll see what happens as the field come onto the start-finish straight. Wait for the green flag signal. Everyone is in the queue, so it will be a green flag signal, and away they go. And Nilsson gets the jump on Butcher, and Butcher's been completely swamped at the start. Oh, and Nilsson chops across the front of the field. Talbot's got to run up the inside. Oh, Butcher breaks way too late. Oh, and look in the background, there's contact. There's contact. It looks like everyone's going to come through okay. Into the first corner they go. Oh, Callan's round. But again, I mean, he might have survived there as well. And, oh, it's so many cars all over the place. Talbot's off now. Oh, that is Wiesemuller.
Yeah, it was Wiesemuller. I mean, this has got a crazy start. Calamies into the lead already from 4th on the grid. This man has gone on an absolute charge. Chris Butcher in a GT Mega sandwich right now. I'm not sure whether to attack or defend. Oh, he's got Calamies is off. Eva Calamies is off. Your championship leader and the man who's just dominated the series is off the track. And surely that's the end of his race. Butcher coming under pressure now from James Johnson. But Tommy Nilsson, the lead of the race. Calamies slowly comes back onto the track in the middle of a cavalry that's being brought by Alexandra Sene. But you can see him now squirming, just trying to bring that car.
Yerman's off! Yerman's off!
Oh, it's an absolute mental first lap. Cars flying off left, right and centre. But GT Omega, I'm not sure to be happy or distraught, I suppose. They've got one of their guys leading the race, the other one way down the order, and Jesper Tolberg down in 9th.
We've got a disqualification for Van Navarro. God knows what happened to him. I'd love to see that incident between Butcher and and Butcher's dropping back through the field. He's let Calamise go, so Butcher doing maybe the right thing. It depends how he's let those cars through, but he was right at the front of the field. Now it's James Johnson from absolutely nowhere. I think he was about 9th on the grid, is the one chasing down Nielsen, but you'd have to say he doesn't quite have the pace. And Nuno Silva up to 3rd. Look at that.
If he could bring it home there, that would just be absolutely incredible. But I tell you what, this is what this track's about. Like we were saying, it separates the men from the boys. If Wiesenmüller can keep it there in 4th at the moment, he's holding up Ivar Calamise, who's bringing the cavalry view of Sene, Butcher, Henderson and Talborg. These guys all were firm qualifiers inside the top 5, and now all just being held up, and Wiesenmüller just being tailgated by Ivar Calamise, who's all over the rear end of him, just drafting him, almost pushing him around this circuit. And you can see Wiesenmüller, if he can just hold that line, there's not many places to overtake it. Calamise trying to search at every opportunity, literally just pushing his back end the entire way around this lap at the moment. That GT Omega wants to climb the standings as soon as possible.
He certainly does, right in behind Wiesenmüller, and he's looking, oh, he's going to tag him, oh, it looks like he's going to tag him, he's going to jump through on the inside, no he's not. Wiesenmüller sweeps around. This might actually give a chance for Sene to get a run here, as Nielsen sets the fastest lap of the race. This is the first time they're going to be able to use push to pass. Let's see who actually does engage it, and looking back from Sene, it looks like he's not under attack from Butcher either, so Calamise down in 5th place, but that's not the end of the world for him. Oh, and Callan in the pit lane. Oh, what happened to him? Could have been anything, quite frankly. He's, oh, and look at this! Calamise on the inside of Wiesenmüller!
Wiesenmüller, oh, look, that Calamise off again! Calamise is off again, he's in the wall! And no, he's kept it out just from a light tap from the wall, but there's rear end damage, I think, and Calamise race just goes from bad to worse, and the field fly past him, and surely if he didn't have damage before, he may have some now. Ivar Calamise must be so angry inside that cockpit at the moment.
Down to 13th place. Let's have a quick look on replay, see what happened. It looks like he's squeezing up the inside, sorry about that, squeezing up the inside of Wiesenmüller. I don't know whether we're going to see this or not. But Wiesenmüller gives him a tap, and I think that was a part Calamise squeezing him. I think he's cutting across here, to be honest with you, and Wiesenmüller had nowhere to go. I don't know, it's half a dozen to one and 6 to the other, but he's now down behind Eric Tveit, and Tveit won't give him any room. So we'll see what happens to Calamise, but this could open the championship right up.
Absolutely, this championship has just been flipped on its head. As we said, this could be a real turning point in the championship, as these midfield contenders need to stamp their ground, and they've got a perfect opportunity. As you take a look at Alexandre Sene looking at Wiesenmüller, they navigate through traffic. Sene on the inside, can he get it done? It's so close, they're still side by side. Alexandre Sene, oh, it's a little bit of a bump there, and somehow loses out. Butcher now, all over the back of him. These three just nose to tail at the moment. Butcher dipping out for some clean air, but these are just pushing each other around. Bit of a lock up there by Robert Wiesenmüller. Is Sene going to try and slip through? Wiesenmüller shuts the door and says, no, not yet, you know. But Sene still in hot pursuit at the moment. Where's there going to be a push to pass used? This may be a little opportunity. Butcher looks to the outside, and he's going to almost make a bit of contact there with Alexandre Sene. This is touring cars at its best right now.
It certainly is. If these guys have got a sensible head on their shoulders, they'll let Butcher go through. They know that Butcher is quicker than them, but neither of them, I suppose, want to give up that position. Oh, and Butcher gets sideways under that braking zone, and this close battle, it really is raging. Talborg actually is in the background looking on. Henderson we saw making a mistake at turn 1, but he gets away with that. But Nuno Silva in 3rd, looking pretty good, and James Johnson in 2nd. I mean, where that came from, I have no idea at all. Ben Davis has got some news on the start line, and the first lap fracas down in the pits.
Yeah, just going into turn 1, it was Nielsen actually that got the jump on Butcher initially off the line, but going into turn 1, he was very, very cautious on the brakes, and that allowed Butcher to go past him, and then Calamise round the outside of him, round the outside of Butcher, so Nielsen was very cautious on the brakes. That's what cost him the places. Jesper was following Nielsen behind him, and watched for his brake light, so he was behind Nielsen and also braking quite early into turn 1, and Adrian McNaughton didn't really judge that to run into the back of Talborg. That's why he was down the field. He sent him sideways, and I think that's what caused another few collisions behind that. So yeah, it was actually Nielsen that was quite cautious after that amazing getaway he got from the line. Just a quick word for Even Navarro as well. He was disqualified because he didn't join in time and then went through the pit lane red light.
Oh.
So unfortunately, he was disqualified. But
Unfortunate for him. We've just watched on replay. I meant to mention it in some way, but we just watched on replay Chris Butcher sliding his way through Alexandra Sene, doing the crisscross through turn 1 and getting on the inside through turn 2 and 3. So a good move from Butcher. He's up to 5th. James Johnson is dropping away big time from Tommy Nilsson, who is setting fastest laps at the front of the field. And you'd have to say that Nilsson looks hands-on favourite for this win. Talbot has been overtaken by Henderson. I'm not sure when that happened, but Henderson making his way through the field as well quite nicely, Liam.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one crucial point in this race right now would be Nuno Silva. If he can keep his car going, you take a look at, I think that's Jesper Tolberg trying to go out the inside of Henderson. Yes, it is. Into turn 1, Henderson shuts the door, still fighting for it. Jesper Tolberg, oh, big scrum there by Damien Henderson, and that's going to unleash Adrian McNaughton onto the rear end, and you can see he's in closer competition with Kenneth Yerman as well, who looks to the inside now. So Yerman fancies his chances, and oh, that's a textbook manoeuvre there, providing he doesn't break late, and yes, he does. He's got a bit though, as McNaughton tries to come back up the inside, and they're still side by side. Some excellent racing we're seeing here now, as you see from the rear end of Henderson, but these two still going hammer and tong. They're side by side. It's drag race into the next corner, and McNaughton seems to have the outside line being pushed by. That was absolutely mental. I'm speechless on that one, but what a move there by Kenneth Yerman. It's absolutely great stuff there.
They were side by side for so long there, Liam. It was mental, as you say, and eventually McNaughton coming through, losing out to Kenneth Yerman, and obviously both of them now still chasing down Damien Henderson, who has slipped through, but Talbot up to 7th. Calamise has got by Eric Tveit in 11th and 12th, so Tveit is now got Davy van der Ven behind him. Vinicius Ferreira moved up to 14th position. He's doing quite well, holding off Enderman.
You're missing a titanic battle at the front with
Danny Asprey.
Sorry to interrupt, but
no worries.
Oh, look at that! That's
contact
flick
down
to it. Butcher trying to look round the outside. They're almost 3 abreast there. Butcher's fighting and forcing his way for trap position. Wiesemüller having none of it. Nuno Silva's down to 6th, so they've obviously navigated their way past him. We said Nuno Silva wasn't too pacey out the front, but taking a look now, he's still nonetheless doing a great job in 6th, but he could well capitalise on the error as these 3 all just duel and leave everything on the tarmac, as Wiesemüller trying to hold off Chris Butcher at the moment. We're on lap 8 out of 25, still plenty of time for a manoeuvre, and right now this train of cars just keeps expanding as Wiesemüller just looks to try and keep them at bay, and Sene all over the back as well. One mistake by one of those guys in the middle of that train and they can lose so many positions.
They certainly can. Just look at it, looking back from Wiesemüller, you've got Butcher, Sene, Nuno Silva, then you've got Jesper Talbot, and Henderson's closing in the background as well. So plenty of guys here, and they're all actually catching James Johnson in front of them. We hadn't seen James Johnson at all in the frame, but now he's just starting to appear in the foreground of these shots. So I think James Johnson will be a sitting duck at some point. But they were touching each other down the straight, Ben, you say?
Yeah, I think it was Sene got the back of Nuno Silva at the last corner, and that sent them both sideways, and that allowed Butcher to get past them. And then he was side by side with Wiesemüller down the straight.
Yeah, as he is now.
Sorry.
They go through turn 1. Butcher looking for the crisscross. They're going into the fascia cage side by side. Oh, it's no room there for 2 cars. And it turned out to be the case. Butcher had to back up. Sorry, Ben, to cut across you there, but Butcher was making a move into turn 2. They're still side by side looking for a way through. But Sene is still there, sniffing about. Talbot's still there. Henderson's definitely catching these guys up. They've lost a big chunk of time to Johnson as well. And Tommy Nilsson's made a mistake as well. He's done a 20.5 as Butcher looks so racy.
Absolutely. This man, of course, was the pole sitter. He knows he's got the pace to be out front, and he knows if he can just try and get past Wiesemüller, he just may have a shot at James Bonson, who's currently 7.1 seconds away. But to do that, he's got his work cut out for him right now. Wiesemüller's doing a sterling job at holding that 3rd position. Of course, this is for a podium. Both these guys want to kind of bring themselves back into the title chase. There's no better opportunity to do that than Ivar Kalami. He's way down the order in P11 after a dreadful start. So both these guys want to leave it all on the track to get the best result they can, and that's showing because these guys driving the race of a lifetime right now. Sene as well. It's great to see him in the top 5. He's worked so hard for this as well over the past couple of races. Bit of bad luck from time to time. As Butcher looks on the inside, surely has to push to pass, I think.
It surely is. He's going straight up the inside here. If he breaks early enough, which he has just about done. Oh, Butcher sideways!
Right, and synchronised sliding there as Wiesemüller follows in fashion. Luckily, none of them made contact, but that's just a sign of how hard these guys are pushing, Toby.
I know, absolutely. Talbot slipped through past Nuno Silva as well. I think Ben wants to talk to us down in the pit lane.
Well, I was just going to say, Toby, I mean, where are the THR team orders? This is crazy battling.
Don't look at me, Chris is in control. And he's moved up into third position, he's behind James Johnson. And you'd have to say now that this is now a race that Butcher's managed to save. He's going to sneak back into second place. It's still an excellent result if he does so. I think he will close down James Johnson as well. Depends how much tyre they've taken out battling each other, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thing is, with the first 10 laps being like they have been, most of these guys would have killed their tyres, as you say, in the opening stint, because they've just been fighting so hard. I mean, I think a prime example of this would be Butcher. He's worked incredibly hard to try and get past Visa Miller. There have been lookups, there have been slides, and I think there may be a pit stop going very soon with some of those guys, because their tyres will be just dancing all over the place, and the car will be doing the opposite of what the driver wants to do.
We'll see whether that, pit stop is not out of the question here, that the pit lane speed limiter is quite slow. I have to say, I'm watching Ivar Calamies now, and he's got onto the back of this train. This is not all over for Calamies. In the background, here comes Twight on Van der Ven, and those two are 15 seconds ahead of Ferreira and Enderman, so there's plenty of gaps further back. Van der Ven's running very wide indeed. Here comes Twight. Looks like he wants to do something. Oh, and Sene and Viesemuller, look at this, Sene's wide!
And through goes Talbot and Viesemuller. Look at Talbot now then. Up to P5. This man has just literally taken so much opportunities away, and he looks on the inside of his teammate. I think Viesemuller may have to try and surrender this one, but no, he doesn't. And I think THR Green may have a couple of decisions to think about here, as Talbot is all over the rear end of Viesemuller. That train just behind. Nuno Silva back up in 6th. Henderson 7th place, Yerman 8th, Calamies up to 9th, was 11th a few moments ago. So Ivar Calamies forcing his way whilst Adrian McNaughton and now sets his sights on Kenneth Yerman. As you said, Calamies is not out of this, and this is a prime opportunity for him, because that train is just getting closer and closer and closer. So from Calamies to Viesemuller, it's just a matter of 5 seconds, and from 9th to 4th place has gone crazily close now. They're effectively in a large train, and this is exactly what Ivar needs.
It certainly is. He's not out of this, as you say, at all. He could easily sneak into the top 4th. I'll just run through the positions further down the field at the bottom of your screen. Ray Lilly is down in 20th position behind Asbury, Bell, Van der Veld. You can see the rest of the positions as I was saying them. Brian Callan is still out on track in 24th position, but he's got some work to do from there. David Yunt is in the pit lane. Not quite sure what happened between him and Paolini. I'm sure Ben will endeavour to tell us. And Philip Antonio is currently last of our runners. And there's some guys back there, obviously, who've quitted back to the garage. We've had Ocker Clint from an accident, Thomas Fott from DNF, and Marlon Nitz as well. And of course Navarro's disqualification that Ben was talking about earlier. So plenty of guys there who have unfortunately dropped out. But this battle is still raging. And apart from Sene, who's dropped off the back of it just a touch after that mistake, it could be anyone really that finishes anywhere. And look at Yerman all over the back of Henderson as well. And the THR Green teammates as well, nose to tail. Butcher is closing on Johnson, so we'll keep touching that with that. And Nielsen's dropped his pace off quite substantially at the front.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting now, extremely quickly.
I think we've just lost Liam Jenkins potentially. What he was saying was it could get extremely interesting extremely quickly indeed. Here comes Talborg on the back of Robert Wiesemuller. This is a push to pass move. Let's see whether he can get it done. Wiesemuller sweeps in front of him, and Talborg will have to wait for another lap to have another go. And Calamies is having a go at Kenneth Yerman. This could be interesting, could be contact. Yerman trying to go through there side by side. Yerman stays in front, and this is not helping Calamies at all. He's still getting held up, and there's a lot of time left, so he's not completely out of this. Oh, and he's looking for a gap. There's no way through there though. But McNaughton is able to be on the back of them as well, so there's plenty of action here. And Talborg once again all over the back of Wiesemuller, going up the inside. Talborg forcing his way past his THR Green teammate, moves up into 4th position, and he's booked that pass, as Keith would say, and that was a great move there. Butcher in 3rd, Talborg in 4th, Johnson in 2nd. Tommy Nielsen still leads from 9.2 seconds from Johnson. So plenty of time in hand for Tommy Nielsen. Oh, and further back, I don't know what button I just pressed, but there we go, that was that one. Calamies having a go. Oh, Kenneth Yerman! Kenneth Yerman! He's off! He's off in the bank! Oh dear, Kenneth. Let's hope he can get back on the track. He rejoins behind Davy van der Ven. Let's have a look at what happened there. So Calamy's on the outside, sweeps round, oh, slams into the side of Kenneth Yerman, and then Yerman lost it all by himself on the exit of the corner. So Yerman dropped back miles. That's another one for Calamy's to not have to worry about. He's in behind Henderson. I don't think Henderson... Oh, McNaughton! McNaughton at the bank! He's just about going to escape with that one as well, but all these drivers are making mistakes, Liam. It's a bit kind of random at the moment.
Yeah, I think as you said, the possibility of a pit stop is not off the cards, and a lot of drivers will start to consider this. The mistakes are starting to come in thick and fast, if you will. Calamy's up to 8, as we've said. He hasn't really put a foot wrong just yet, and it'll be interesting to see if he does have any damage and can manage the tyres as well. But right now he's going to have his sights focused on Damien Henderson just in front, and of course then you've got Nuno just in front of him, and he's still doing a very good job as well, and then the two THR Green boys. But Nuno Silva up in 6th place. He started from a good position and he's keeping it up there with the big boys. This is definitely a man to watch in the future races.
I think, Calamy's gets very sideways there. I don't know if he hit the back of Henderson or not, but I think another thing to note is that Butcher and Talbot, now they've got past Wiesenmuller, are slowly gapping, and I'm not sure that Calamy's will be able to reach them if he stays behind this train for too much longer. So Calamy's will want to be getting past these guys as soon as he possibly can if he wants to have a go at getting a podium today. And Butcher's got past Johnson for 2nd position. Let's see if we can catch that on the replay. Actually, never mind. Let's stick with this battle as Calamy's has a go at 2 people at once.
Calamy's just really trying to show his pure aggression right now and comes back on track side by side with Nuno Silva. Let's see what Nuno's got in the tank. He holds his ground and keeps Calamy's behind him. He's not going to just simply move out the way. I think this man, we've already established, is going to be a contender for a top 5 as he tries to look over Henderson, and this is the beauty of the World Supertech Series, just seeing these trains with all these big guys trying to navigate their way through. But Nilsson has lost a lot of time. Like, the gap between him and Butcher is now 10.8. Calamy's looks like the inside there of Nuno Silva. He's still got the outside line. Nuno does a great job, but he's got to be careful. Henderson's just in front. You can't go too aggressive into a corner to try and hold the position, and he needs to try and navigate his way past Henderson to put almost like a brick wall between him and Ivar Calamy's as soon as possible.
I have to say that Calamy's, although he's all over the back of Nuno Silva, oh look at this, this would be a brave move. He went up the inside there and he didn't choose to do so. But Alexandre Sene, after I was saying he dropped back so far, is catching back up to the back of Calamy's, and Sene can race, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there as Philip Antonia gets out of the way of Jesper Talbot, who comes through to lap him. And as I said, James Johnson's been overtaken by Chris Butcher. I should think that was not team orders, but I should think James Johnson didn't make it too difficult for Butcher, but those two know that if they keep a clean race now, that they've got a definite 2-3 on the cards, and that would be a great result for those two. So pretty sensible driving. Let's drop back to this battle between Henderson, Silva and Calamy's, and in the background Sene is still closing, so let's see if we can spot another battle just for the time being. McNaughton and Tveit is a couple of seconds between them. Tveit's got a second to Yerman, who's got a second back to Van der Ven, so those are all fairly far behind. Cullen coming through the picture is a couple of laps down. Enderfin's got a huge gap to Ferreira, who's got Kabis and Danny Asbury all over the back of him, I believe that is. So this looks like a good battle. And Ferreira up to 15th place, Kabis in 16th, Danny Asbury in 17th position. Let's see what these boys can do.
Yeah, it's just quite interesting to watch actually. Let's just see what they've got in the tank. There's a big lock up there, and he goes wide, and that's horrendously wide there. And I think he may have to surrender that one, and indeed he does, but the other two press on nonetheless. But Vinicius Ferreira, yeah, we haven't really spoken much about him today, but this is a much improved performance from what we're used to seeing from him. It's great to see him now get those consistent laps in, and hopefully gain a good result today.
Certainly is, and Danny Asbury behind him would have been looking to be further up the field, I'm sure. And Glenn Kabis running wide just now. We have seen flashes of pace from him, so... Oh, and Andy van der Velt's retired because of a motor failure, so that's an interesting one. Mike Bell, Brandon Warren, who has rejoined the series for this weekend. Dino Paolini, huge damage to the front of his car, not sure what he's been doing. Callan looks like he's just got a bit sideways perhaps out of that corner. He's still in 21st, he's going to score points probably, but got some work to do. David Yunt and Philip Antonia, who's coming into the pit lane again, so unless he hasn't served his penalty or something. But we'll head back to the front of the field. Tommy Nilsson still running away with this one, you'd have to say. from Butcher, Johnson. Talborg in 4th place, and Wiesemuller now is holding back Henderson, and look at this, Calamies has got by Nuno Silva.
Yeah, absolutely. Calamies is definitely on a charge at the moment, as you've said. He's up to 7th now, and now almost has a cheeky look at Henderson, as Henderson goes a bit deep and straight up the inside, textbook stuff there, seeking the opportunity and grasping it with 2 hands, and now sets his sights on the first of the 2 THR green drivers of Robert Wiesemuller. But Calamies, we said before when he caught this train, he's never to write him off, and again this is showing dividends as he now has to get a bit of a wiggle there, but he's definitely going to start applying the pressure now onto Robert Wiesemuller. But the question is, with this around 6 laps remaining, is there going to be time to catch Jesper Talborg?
It'd be interesting to see if there is. I have to say that Nielsen's lap times have been in the 21s as of recent, and Butcher's have been in the 20s, so Butcher might catch Nielsen, it has to be said. It will be a difficult task, of course. It's a 10-second gap, and you'd think that Nielsen has something in hand, as Calamies looks very closely at the back end of Wiesemuller's car. No way through there. We've got Ben Davis down in the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have to remember that Chris Butcher actually probably was the cause of Calamies' incident on lap 1 that caused him to go off the track. Although he did let him through, there could be repercussions after the race. We see Calamies trying to go around the outside. He's very fired up, I think. Contact with Wiesemuller. Yeah, very fired up. But yeah, he's doing a pretty decent job coming through the field. Some of them, to be honest, were people making mistakes. We saw Kenneth Yeoman go off. We saw Sene go off, and those are promoting Calamies to make his race from down the field easier, for sure. But he's picked his way through and used his push to pass down the straight a couple of times. That's how he got past Nuno Silva. So yeah, he's doing a pretty decent saving job here.
He certainly is. He's very aggressive. Go on, Liam.
I was going to say, he's trying to look all over the back of Wiesemuller already. Now he's just got right underneath that rear wing and seems to make it stick as soon as possible as we head in towards the final few laps. And it's going to be do or die time soon for Calamies. He needs as many points as he can to stop, or not so much stop, but halt the progress of the guys in front, because they are going to gain points from him whether he likes it or not. And he just needs to try and reduce that to the smallest value possible. But he's going to have a harsh job trying to overtake Wiesemuller. We've seen him all race just causing a lot of problems for guys trying to get past. I think Talborg got past very, very luckily. It was a good job by him as well, due to them being teammates. But apart from that, this man has been absolutely solid today in terms of defending.
He certainly has. He's been the most difficult guy to pass on the track, and you can see he's just going up the inside here. He's not really giving... Oh, and just as I say that, I was going to say he's not really making the mistake, going to give Calamies the room, and he brakes too late and lets him through. So, I nearly put the curse of commentator on, but I didn't actually have time to do so. So, Wiesemuller relegated to 6th, Calamies up to 5th, and I think that's pretty much where Calamies will end up now. I don't think he'll be able to catch Talborg, Johnson and Butcher in front. That's a good point, actually. Talborg has caught up quite rapidly towards the back of James Johnson. The gap between Butcher and Nielsen is still 10.7 seconds, or it's 10.6 now, but no real difference. So I don't think the leader will be caught, but I think James Johnson might be caught by Talborg, and now Calamies is unleashed. I think he'll have a fun job of just driving by himself as Henderson engages push to pass and Sene doesn't have it, and Nuno Silva doesn't use his either, so no moves there being made. So it looks pretty much status quo at the front of the field. We'll just drop back a little bit and just have a check on this Tveit-Yeoman battle as they go side by side into turn 1. Tveit a little bit late on the brakes, you'd have to say. Yeoman trying to come back on him. Oh, and Tveit goes defensive very early for turn 2 and 3. Yeoman looking for a way all over the back of Tveit. And there's no way through there. It's a flat out chicane, so plenty of time left though, 5 laps left in this race for guys to be able to make their move.
Yeah, it's going to start picking away there. We saw this in the previous round. 5 laps may seem like a lot in terms of spectator view, but in terms of driving, that's virtually no time at all, because the lap times will just start ticking away, and before you know it, you'll be at the checkered flag. I think that's Tveit going a little bit wide there, and Yeoman having to take evasive action. Is he now all over the back of Tveit? I think this could be a move definitely in the making in the next couple of laps. Tveit now harsh on the defensive mechanisms, needs to try and keep that car going on that inside line and prevent a move from Kenneth Yeoman. But both of these guys once again doing great jobs today. McNaughton in 10th, another good job. Danny Asprey is went into 15th, so considering his qualifying position, that's a good job by Danny.
Yeah, he's moved up the field quite well actually, and he's managed to get all the way up to there.
Oh, look
at Sene on the push to pass!
Push to pass, yeah. 3 wide almost, and I think Wiesemüller, after a couple bit of a nudges there, round Henderson just holds on to a bit of a sideways scrub, and now Sene comes unleashed, tries to be found, hang inside. It's just like proper towing car action here, and there's 4 of them now, as you can see Nuno Silva trying to get into the mix here, as he tries to force the way perhaps past, and still Wiesemüller is all over the track at the moment, but somehow holding on.
I have no idea how he did that, but it's completely reshuffled the order. Henderson moves to the back of that pack, and therefore down into 9th position. Sene moving up to take the... oh, and he's given Wiesemüller a nudge! Sene just about getting away with that one, but you've got to be careful there. No, they're not direct teammates, but they are teammates in the THR camp. And behind them, Nuno Silva doing a good job of holding off Henderson as well. But Henderson just lost out, really, just because of the number of cars there. There was nothing they could do about that. But thanks for giving us the heads up, Ben. It's difficult to follow all the battles at once, and we apologise if we miss 1 or 2. But this one, there's always one in the sort of 5th to 10th position, and there's always a good battle between these drivers. They're actually very close in terms of pace. Talborg closing right up to the back of James Johnson as they lap Brandon Warren. So do we think Talborg's going to take the podium from Johnson, or let Johnson take it? I think it'll be up to those 2 drivers to sort that one out between themselves. Knowing Talborg, I think he'll let Johnson take the podium, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, to say the least, but that gap nonetheless is coming down as we speak, and you can see once again side by side Sene tries to force his way and defend against Robin Wiesemüller at the moment, but Wiesemüller needs to try and get back into that top 5. As we said, he's done a sterling job all day, but right now needs to try and get back in that 5th position and hold it, otherwise he's going to have a charging Damien Henderson and the cavalry just behind him. Yeah,
Sene obviously just got through, perhaps coming out of turn 1. Let's see if we can get this on the replay. Oh, he's gone up the inside into turn 1. Wiesemüller gave him room, perhaps letting him through. Oh, I wouldn't say that, the way that Wiesemüller went into that flat out chicane. Oh, crikey. Flat out through there, and they went side by side, but a good move from Sene, moves him up into 6th place, and he's doing a good job to stay ahead of Wiesemüller now. I think actually Sene perhaps the faster of the 2, as we look at Johnson and Talborg closing up as well. Let's just head back. There's Nuno Silva with McNaughton closing in on him. Tveit has got past, and something's happened to Kenneth Yerman. I don't know what's happened to Kenneth Yerman. He's disappeared off my radar. Look at that, DNF for Kenneth Yerman. Let's see if we can catch this on the replay. I don't think we're going to be able to. It's a shame if we're not going to be able to. That might have happened a lap or 2 ago, to be fair. No, we're not going to catch this on the replay, so if we get that. That's a shame, though. Really is a shame for him. So, Cullen in 21st is going to score a couple of points, so good for him. Let's see what we've got further forward. So let's have a look at the battle at the front of the field, if I can press the right buttons. One of Cullen's favourite sayings. And Talborg up into 4th place. He is closing right onto the back of James Johnson, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, now it's going to be on like wildfire, but the question is, like you said, knowing Jesper, he may just let it go, because if he does go for a move and it doesn't pay off, he could potentially lose 4th position to Ivar Calamies, and that's the one man you don't want to lose a position to. So you may just see Jesper play a bit of a smarter game here, or wait for the opportunity to come to him. But with 2 more laps to go, it's going to be very interesting to say the least. But right now, James Johnson, I think, may just clinch this one.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it's going to be very tight between those 2. Johnson obviously currently holding the front of the field, currently holding Talborg, I should say. And behind them, Calamies is in the background, you know. So these 2 can't really dilly and dally about for too long. There he is, Calamies. He's actually made quite good progress. So, Sene, and look at this battle going on.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely incredible to the end. You can see them at Norton looking up the inside, and that's going to be very crucial just behind. He's trying to hold against Silva. This is what I mean about this train. Silva was 6th a few moments ago, now down in P10, well, P9, and he's just somehow defended against Adrian McNaughton. But this train, I think, is going to come down right to the wire, because these 4 drivers are actually separated by nothing. As you can see now, Talborg all over the back of the man in front, of course, James Johnson. James Johnson having a sniff of the podium, and he would absolutely love it, but both of them THR drivers, of course, so I think Jesper may just be a bit quicker, and James may be smart enough to let him through. Talborg looks up the inside, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see if James lets Jesper through, but I think for now Jesper may just be playing it safe.
Yeah, Jesper looks like he's just giving that breathing room to Johnson for now. We'll keep a close eye on whether those two make a move down the pit straight. They're coming through the final corner now. Look at this, Wiesenmuller and Henderson resuming their battle once again. Henderson in behind Wiesenmuller at present. Be interesting to see how long that stays like that. Ben Davis down in the pit lane. Got some news on Kenneth Yerman.
Yeah, Kenneth Yerman, he put a move on the Eric Tveit going into the lovely boot section, and he just outbraked himself, got on the grass, and that probably angered him slightly in the couple of corners later on in the long sweeping left-hander that we got here. He just lost it, ran a bit wide, lost the back end on the X curve. He did a pretty good job of saving it to begin with, but just ran out of road and overcorrected and hit the barrier, unfortunately. So that was obviously too much damage for him to continue, but that's a real shame for him.
It certainly is. He was doing a great job up with Eric Tveit, and he won't score any more points today. So, well, he might do in race 2, of course, but not in race 1. Henderson is still all over the back of Wiesenmuller. We are on the final lap, I've just noticed. So Nielsen looks like he's pretty sensibly going to keep this lead and take the victory. It's going to be a pretty much lights to flag victory for him. The big question is going to be who takes the podium positions. And I think Talbot may well be leaving this one to James Johnson. We'll have to wait and see. Butcher definitely going to take second, but our race 1 winner here at Santa Cruz do Sul is Tommy Nilsson. He's led a great race all the way through from the start, and he's going to take the victory from Chris Butcher, who comes through in second place. Who's going to be third? It looks like it's going to be James Johnson who's going to take third position. Oh, and here comes Talbot though. Oh, he had a push to pass. He had a push to pass. But he didn't.
A very sneaky move by Jesper as well. We said there might be, look at this, Sene trying to come through. He did a good job as well, Alexander Sene coming home in 6th. But who's going to come home leading that train just behind? Wiesenmuller from Henderson. Nuno Silva, I think, made his impression firmly clear today in P9. Adrian McNaughton comes home in 10th. Tveit somehow holds off in P11, just in front of man in P12. The gap's actually quite increased a lot, but that was a great job. And I think Tommy Nilsson seemingly ran away with that one.
Oh, I think he did, quite frankly. He walked away with it in the end. We're going to have David van der Ven crossing the line. I think this will be Kevin Enderman coming through. We saw Mike Bell. I think he was in a little bit more trouble than Enderman. And I think Danny Asbury is coming through in 14th place. And that's a pretty good start to his WSS career for Danny Asbury in 14th place. He perhaps would have been expecting a little more. But 14th is not a bad result at all. But talk about Nilsson. I mean, look at that, great result for him, 10 seconds ahead of Butcher, who was the pole sitter. No, Butcher had to come through the field, but that was after he waited for Calamies. We'll have to review that incident, of course. Be interesting to see what the review results in, but Butcher takes second position then from Talborg, from Johnson and then Talborg, with Calamies in 5th place, so that will harm his championship hunt a little bit, Liam.
Yeah, it's not the race we would have wanted. We saw him in qualify, and that's not where he wanted to go to start with. And his race, unfortunately, took a turn for the worse if you've just tuned in, when a little bit of a tangle with Chris Butcher. And since then, it just went a bit downhill, but he fought back gallantly, as to be said, through the field and getting a top 5. And that's to be expected. I mean, this man is leading the championship for a good reason. And he finished in P5, but all credit to Tommy Nilsson. He did what had to be done. He held the lead, and it took a huge chunk out of the rock of the lead that's been held by Ivar Calamies. Yeah,
he's done a great job there, and it certainly looks to take the challenge to Calamies, and that's the worst result for Calamies this season, unbelievably. He's been first or second in every race so far. Ben Davis, I think, has got hold of Chris Butcher, who might have a word to say.
Yeah, Chris, such an eventful race for you. I've got so many questions. You seemed to get a little bit left behind at the initial getaway, but you outbraked Tommy Nilsson to the first corner, and then had a bit of contact with Calamies. Is that what caused him to go off, and then did you wait for him then after that? I couldn't really see properly, but what happened?
Well, at the start, I was actually in the wrong gear. I wasn't used to the slightly slower speed, and I got caught out. I should have been in first gear. Then Tommy seemed to brake really early, actually, for turn 1, and I'm not sure whether it was Jesper got caught out by that. And then, yeah, with Calamies, I just completely missed the braking point, so I need to apologise to him for that, because that's pretty much ruined his race. But I thought I'd better wait for him, which I did, which hasn't really impacted on my position where I finished in the race, but I suspect I've probably got a penalty coming my way.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what the TBS staff decide from that. But thank you for joining us, Chris, for that little bit of information. We're heading into qualifying now, so you best get back and do some qualifying. We're going to head straight through. So cheers for coming to talk to us. So Liam, I mean, some interesting drivers up there in the top 10. Nuno Silva for the first time. Damien Henderson losing out to Wiesenmüller in the end, and of course James Johnson, a first-time podium in WS Season 2. So good job from him.
Yeah, really varied race results. As long as you said, this is the lowest result we've seen Calamies, and I think this is going to boost a lot of drivers' confidence. Guys like Nuno Silva, who could only manage 9th in the end due to the train, but Wiesenmüller, who had a sterling job, as we said earlier. Alexandra Sene did a good job. Henderson in 8th. But more importantly, I think Butcher, Johnson and Tolberg will all go into this qualifying session fairly confident that they've got the pace to beat, if not match, the GT Megas.
And GT Megas straight out onto the track as well. Tommy Nilsson straight out there with a little bit of lag. Apologies for that. Chris Butcher is waiting in the pit lane, presumably still sorting out who he's talking to. But Jesper Talbog on track as well. Be interesting to see what sort of lap times these guys set. They, of course, are you know, a little bit focused on their racing, and it's going straight back to qualifying once again. It can be a challenge, and it's one they've got to overcome, Liam.
Yeah, I think this qualifying session as well is going to be probably the most crucial, because you've just come out of what's must have been a gruelling race, and you're looking at around half an hour of racing plus a qualifying session plus this one as well. The drivers are going to be tired as well, just as mentally but physically, and I think this is going to be a real case of kind of who can hold his mental fatigue. This is the places where the guys like Calamies, like Talbot, are going to shine, because they do this week in, week out across all different types of leagues. But perhaps the new guys like Nuno Silva, like Danny Asbury up there in 14th, Vinicius Fanera, who did a good job in P16, it's going to be interesting to see where they can qualify. But with a track nature like this and the cars performing like they are, I think it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top in this session.
Certainly is. Talbog's on a lap, so we'll follow him round. I think he's potentially one of the first people who will cross the line first. So we'll see what Talbog can do on this first of his flying laps. Ben, down in the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just going to say about Ivan Calamies. I don't think we've really seen the best from him at all yet. I think in qualifying he made a couple of mistakes and didn't get a proper clean lap or as quick lap as he would have wanted in. And then in the race, we have to remember that he did hit the barrier pretty hard, so he probably had some front end damage, maybe a bit of bodywork come off. And in these cars, downforce makes a massive amount of difference, particularly with the technical section we got in the middle here. So he probably was down on lacking pace because of his damage. So I wonder what he can do in this second race and in this second quali session.
Of course, I hadn't figured that out actually. He will have had a little bit of damage as a result. So and then actually his back end was caved in quite a fair bit. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what he does. Talbog's coming through the final corner now. He's got Ray Lilly in front of him in that beautiful Duracell livery. I'm actually quite jealous of that livery in a way. And Talbog coming through across the start-finish line, and he's done a 19.0, which is okay. Kenneth Yeoman does a 19.6. Tommy Nilsson is going quickly but slower than Talbog, so time's a little bit slower than we saw before, but of course it will take guys to a couple of laps to get through and sort of sort their race pace out and get back into qualifying mode.
Yeah, I think you may see, I mean, you know, we're approaching halfway in the session now, and Tommy Nilsson on a lap as well. Kenneth Yeoman up on his personal best in 4th, but the guys who maybe gave it all in that race, I think guys especially like Wiesenmüller will be a prime example, to perhaps just keep it for a minute and just cool down for a few minutes, maybe get a sip of water, sit down, relax, then get your mind back in focus as Chris Butcher decides to come across the start-finish line. He's purple in sector 1, he's quicker than Tolberg. Does he go faster? Yes, he does. A 118.9, the only man in 118s at present. So Butcher looking to carry on where he left off.
He certainly is. I mean, that's the first time we've seen an 18 in this session so far, as you say. Tommy Nilsson is green, but that doesn't mean to say that he will improve on Butcher. It just means he'll improve on himself. Purple being an overall fastest lap time, a green being faster than yourself, than your previous best, therefore it being a personal best. So that'll explain that feature, and the arrows mean that a new lap time has just been set and they've moved up into that position as Adrian Minolta moves up to 8th, and perfectly shows that feature. Sene is going quicker as well, so we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, into the final 5 minutes of the session, then the times will come flooding in thick and fast, and this is going to be probably optimal track time in terms of traffic. There's going to be plenty of drivers out there trying to do their personal best as Adrian McNaughton goes purple in sector 1. He's absolutely flying there, and I think we're going to take a look at this in a second as Alexandre Sene comes to complete his bid, goes a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner, but nonetheless comes across the line. Tommy Nilsson also fastest in sector 1. McNaughton carries on improving as well. This man out of nowhere. Yes, the purple's going all over the place. You don't even know where to look. There's McNaughton.
That's usually indicative of a relatively poor first sector for the leader, and Butcher is 3 drivers going quicker. Let's see what McNaughton can do first. He's coming through sector 2 first. But Talbot and Nilsson both purple is, yeah, you see McNaughton's dropped 5 tenths even though he's 3 tenths quicker than his previous best. So he will move up, I should think, but perhaps not as highly as he would like. Tell you one driver we haven't seen so far at all in either qualifying session. Ryan Cullen down in 24th position with a 31.3. And look at all those drivers that haven't set a lap time yet either. Got Brandon Warren, Van der Velt, Pereira, Enderman. Nilsson is down on the leader as well at the moment, so Butcher's pole position is safe from Nilsson. Yerman has set green sectors, so we'll see what he can do. Nilsson might improve, let's see. He comes across the line. He improves his time, doesn't improve his position. Nuno Silva, however, is purple. So let's have a look at what Nuno Silva can do. Just 300ths of a second so far. See whether it's going to be good enough. Yerman still green. Wiesemuller's green. Oh, and look at Nuno Silva has spun into the bank, and he's going to have to set a new lap time from there. And look at this, Henderson's going purple as well. So plenty of drivers out there who are on a quick lap, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. And what you were saying about sector 1, I've just looked up the times, and yes, it's a 19.5 for Chris Butcher, which certainly isn't the quickest. So I think we've seen a 19.3 from Jesper Tolberg. So yeah, the first sector is by Chris Butcher isn't a particularly quick one. So we've all seen lots of purple people. Purple people. Just if I managed to say that one. But yeah, and also the sector 3 split time is it's halfway around the corner. So if you carry more speed into that corner, you may get a good purple sector, but you won't get a good run out onto that little short straight before the penultimate corner. So
Henderson is a purple person. He's purple in the first sector, and he's 1.9 seconds down, so he's no longer a purple person. So I like that a lot. A purple person. So let's see if there are any more purple people. There isn't at the moment. Chris Butcher is going quickly though. He's set a slightly slower first sector than his previous best, but he's not purple. So
wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good to see THR purple going purple?
Alexandre Sene and Nathan Nascimento, those 2 drivers, of course. Liam, perhaps you'd like to just do some serious commentating for a minute. Eva Calamy's 4 tenths down.
Yeah, so just taking a look at the standings, and still with 2 minutes left to go, Chris Butcher is the only man in a 118 at the moment. Calamy's going to come across the line now. Of course, needs a brilliant second race to make up for the one before, and he stays 3rd, and it isn't going to plan. His teammate is in 4th. Yes, the Talbot, Chris Butcher goes originally fastest, but Nilsson willing to fight back, and there's a big slide over the apex there, and I'm not sure if that'll actually play in his favour. Actually, that looked like he did a bit of a drift over the apex, so that'll be interesting to see, but could be a whole different take on an aggressive line.
He's certainly pushing, isn't he?
Indeed,
he's got Adrian McNaughton in front of him, who is not on a lap, so McNaughton would be wise to let him through if he can. What the hell is going on there with David Yunt? I have no idea. It seems to be stopped out on the track. Kenneth Yerman is not on a lap either, so Tommy Nilsson, let's see what he can do as he comes towards second sector. McNaughton isn't on a lap, so he'd be wise to be getting out of the way here of Tommy Nilsson. This is a bit selfish. He lets him through now, but Nilsson, nearly 2 tenths up in the first sector, is now down. Look at that.
And that's how much traffic can cost you. That's 900ths of a second. It may not seem like a lot, but in terms of driving, it is a phenomenal amount. If you're trying to get a pole position, that's what Nilsson can do as he comes across the start-finish line. I don't think it's going to be enough for pole. He goes second, which is very, very respectable indeed. He beats Jesper Talbot, which is crucial. Yes, but he will get another lap in. But Alexandre Sene leaving the pit lane. But I'll tell you what, that's kind of crucial for Nilsson. He has beat Jesper Talbot, and it's given Talbot a little bit of pressure now if he wants to sit on that front row. And you can see him just going pretty well at the moment. But I think the thing is now, I don't think anyone's going to beat Chris Butcher's 118.9. I don't want to commentators curse it, but Butcher's looking fairly confident out there at the moment in first. Nilsson close on a 119 flat as Jesper Talbot. I think I just Jesper Talbot's on a 300ths quicker through the first sector. Talbot's flying at some traffic out the way in the background. As Talbot is a man on a mission. He's been knocked down to 3rd by Nilsson. Has this sparked a sort of new side to Jesper Talbot? There won't be no, as you say, he's the most illustrated driver here in Touring Pro Series. Let's see if THR Green can snag their first pole position of the season.
It'll be interesting to see whether he does so. He's obviously on a quick lap, Butcher going quicker as well. So obviously Butcher's finding some time from somewhere. They've both got to get ahead of Tommy Nilsson if they want a decent chance, because Tommy Nilsson ran away with the last race in that kind of exceptional fashion that only comes with exceptionally quick people. And it really was a great performance from Nilsson. So if they want any chance of beating him, they've got to get ahead of him in qualifying, I feel. And Talborg has put together a decent lap so far, as the time has clicked down to 0. So Talborg coming through. Calamise is still green. Jesper does not improve, so it's not good enough for Jesper. Chris Butcher coming through to the second sector. Let's see what he can do. Callan's going purple, as is Kenneth Yeoman. So time's coming through thick and fast. Butcher's only 7 thousandths down on his previous best, so we'll follow him in a minute. Calamise is going green, but not purple, so this might trouble Jesper Talborg, put him back a position. Let's see as he comes across the line. Oh, what a final sector! Where did that come from for Ivar Calamise? Up into first position. Bob's your uncle.
Out of the blue, and that is why he's leading the championship. That was absolutely incredible. He was, that wasn't a purple sector in this middle sector. As Chris Butcher's going faster though. Butcher is not going to relinquish that pole position without some sort of fight. Kenneth Yeoman faster as well, as is Ryan Callan. You can see a little purple kind of array now. Both of those two go. Green in the second sector. But Chris Butcher now is going to need the lifetime. It's not enough though.
It's not enough. He's gone back to the pit lane. Something's happened. Oh, look at this. He's obviously locked up. We're not going to see it, unfortunately. He's locked up and run wide. So Butcher's purple sector, ignore it. He's in the pit lane. Kenneth Yeoman did not improve in the end, so he stays in 5th place. But that's a great result for Yeoman, up in 5th. Henderson again down in 8th. Callan down in 12th. Whoa, and McNaughton, we saw him doing quite well earlier on. He's in 10th position. Wiese Muller, pretty much the star of race 1 in terms of defending. He's in 11th position. I don't think we're going to see any more quick lap times out there. I think everyone has crossed the line. So we'll just scroll through the standings dead quick. Philip Antonio up in 20th position. That's a good result for him. Only a couple of positions off Danny Asbury. Ray Lilly and Ivan Navarro 23rd and 24th. Ocker Clinton 22nd. You've got Oates Fight in 15th. That's a pretty good result. Nuno Silva's dropped back a long way from his race 1 result. So tricky to pick out really a strong... any kind of strong qualifying there. Kibis has dropped down a long way. Van der Velt on his debut still at the back of the field, near the back of the field, and Bell and Enderman teammates either not setting lap times or yeah, it's and David Yunt. Where's David Yunt? As well, I haven't seen
a bit of a scruffy qualifying session. Stopped out on track earlier, but I'm not sure if he's in the session.
Oh, there he is, 7th position. That's not too bad at all.
But in terms of qualifying, I mean, Toby, right now, if you had to predict the winner for the race, I don't think you could. The money would be quite safe on Ivar Calamise, providing he gets away. But we saw in the last race, that's quite easier said than done, and especially in that run to turn 1, Butcher's going to need to get that first position if he's got any hope of holding on to it during the race. But 4 minutes of warm-up to cool down, just try and get your mental composure absolutely 100% at its maximum as you go into another 25 lap race. And it's no easy task doing 2 races this length just straight after each other either, and there's a lot of tension, a lot of emotions all flowing through you at once, and you have to try and you kind of get over all those, push them down, and just focus on the job in hand. And with a track like this as well, like we said, it's going to separate the men from the boys, and Ryan Callan down in P12 at the moment, and it's a lot better than his last qualifying session, but it's still not where he'd like to be though, is it?
No, he's some work to do still from there, and 12th, it's not the end of the world, it's row 6, but it's a fair distance back, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, definitely. He won't particularly be pleased after his stellar performance at Curitiba. He did really well there to get a podium, I think. He managed to have a big battle with Jesper Tolberg. But yeah, in that quality session we finally saw Ivar Calamise coming to the fore and eventually putting in a very good lap time that obviously he was capable of. I mean, I think he did an 18.8 in practice before, and I know that he didn't do all his practice online, so he probably went quicker than that in offline practice, if I could speak and not have man flu. But yeah, Callum is finally showing his hand, and if he can stay out of trouble in this race, he will be wary of Chris Butcher behind him, trying not to have a repeat of lap 1 of race 1. but he's certainly got the pace to do some damage and get yet another win in this championship. But like we saw in the last race, anything can happen, and you know, as Murray Walker says, in motorsport, anything can happen, and it usually does.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where people end up, of course, but yeah, I mean, we've got Brandon Warren a bit moaning a little bit about his race 1, but he obviously got a stop-go penalty for being for cutting the track at turn 1 after contact, so he feels a little bit aggrieved by that. This is a man we haven't seen much of, Dino Polini, who we've seen flashes of pace from as well in these cars, so it'll be interesting to see if he can improve. He is qualified 13th, so not too bad, but he's got some work to do. Van Navarro, this is worth a shout out. He's the first man to cross the line, but it's the first time he set fastest lap for a while, I think, in a natural race session, so good on him. And I know it's the first lap time, but it's worth shouting out to Van Navarro because he puts a lot of effort into his sim racing, into his behind the scenes work as well, so he does a good job, and it's nice to see him competing in the championship.
Yeah, indeed it is as well. I mean, let's take a look at Nuno Silva once again. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what this man can do during the actual race. He's currently second, just letting a couple of guys through. But I think overall this man is definitely a prospect for the future. The young Portuguese man is just definitely going to be in the midst of action today. We saw him in last race having a lengthy battle in the midfield, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty of that during the second race. But if the first race is anything to go by, then I'm sure we're in for an absolute storm of a race today, providing they'll get off the line cleanly.
Yeah, Nuno Silva actually was probably very disappointed with his qualifying for race 2. I think he's down to about 12th or 14th, something like that. But we all know that he can go quicker than that. So yeah, certainly one to watch coming through the field in this race. And you know, without the experience in these cars, racing is very difficult because there's, you know, high downforce, very difficult on traction zones. Getting your braking points when you're trying to overtake is also very difficult, and with this twisty middle section we've got here at this track, it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it with relatively little experience. But yeah, again, it's all going to be about the first lap really, who can just be patient and just get some clean air and stay out of trouble. Because as soon as you get into trouble, your race is really real. I mean, look at Ivor Calamis, and I think, as I said, I think damage probably played a part in his relative lack of pace, or, you know, lack of easily getting through the field. So yeah, staying out of trouble is certainly key here, isn't it, Liam? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you touched on a very good point now. We didn't really get a sense of Calamis' true pace due to the consequences of what transpired earlier on. And I think that Calamis, we did see him have raw pace, and that's evidently what's happened in qualifying, of course, starting from the front of the field. But we'll have to see what he can do during the race. We obviously saw him go hold up earlier on, but I think that just made for another fantastic race, and I think if he needs to try and capitalise on what's happened during race 1, and he's obviously lost a lot of ground to not just Tommy Nilsson but the guys around him, then he needs to take a victory here to keep those title hopes alive, and if he does that, that'll be 8 wins from 8 rounds then for GT Omega, and that's just pure dominance, I think. While the results may not look as kind of dominant as they seem, it's definitely been a step in the right direction. GT Omega, no matter how you look at it, have been on a strengthy run this season. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, they've just been dominant, really. That's the server resetting going towards the race. Just a quick word about push to pass. I mean, it was obviously very effective down the main start-finish straight, trying to overtake into turn 1. But we saw Jesper Tolberg trying to use it on the back of his THR teammate, James Johnson, as we've seen in previous races, out of the last corner of the last lap, and it didn't really work here because the start-finish line isn't a long way up the straight, so it's a relatively short run. So tactics may have to be changed for that. They may have to use the push to passes earlier on in the race. We even saw Calamis use one and try and go past 2 people at once, but that's obviously a bit of a no-go, really, because, well, you have got some tarmac runoff at the end exit of turn 1, which is rare for this track, but still very difficult to get past. So as we watch the formation lap commence, we're just going to watch the back of the field, because we've got the Team Down Under boys at the back of the field, Enderman and Mike Bell. Kevin Enderman, if you ever want to know what a German with an Australian accent sounds like, Kevin Enderman's the man to talk to. He's native German, but spent a couple of years in Australia learning his English out there, and
it's quite an interesting combination. Anyway, it's just a smaller side to the main action, which is at the front of the field. Obviously, this is a formation lap. We're waiting for the slow down signal, which is reducing the speed to 60 kilometers per hour or 37 miles per hour, depending on which money you like. And then they will engage the pit lane speed limiter. This is a trial sort of run for the pit lane speed limiter out on track, and it seemed to work in race 1. We'll see whether it works again in race 2 as they come through the boot section and approach the slow down line. And when they reach that, the field will go to 2x2 formation, and once they are in their particular row slots, then they will engage the pit lane speed limiter and will stay on the pit lane speed limiter right up to the start finish line. So seems to be working nicely so far, Liam.
Yeah, indeed it is. The field all bunch up and get ready to roll then as we get ready for another 25 laps of racing. I don't think anyone can begin to imagine what this can hold. We saw what happened last time out, and just about anything that could happen pretty much did happen. So I'm sure that's only going to carry over into the race as they get ready for the infamous green flag signal and onto the back stretch they come. Hopefully they can all get away cleanly, but Chris Butcher needs to get that move in turn 1 if he wants to take the win for this race. Calamise needs to win the race in order to maintain that dominance and regain some ground that he lost earlier on against teammate Tommy Nilsson. So as they wait for the green flag signal, the tensions rise, hearts beating like a trip hammer, eyes set on the prize for both of them, and away we go almost as they almost get onto the pit straight.
Yeah, we're just waiting for that green flag signal, which will indicate the start of the race. All of the field will need to be on the start-finish straight for that to happen, and that looks like... is that Adrian McNaughton? Oh, okay, go around. This will have to be a go around. Oh no, never mind. We're racing. The green signal's been given. The go around will, of course, no longer be given. Looked like McNaughton stalled, perhaps, on the grid. I don't think anyone's been caught up with him as the field stream into turn 1, first time, and Nilsson takes the position away from Butcher just about, but Calamise has got away in the lead of this race, and Nilsson slots through into second place. So a great start for Calamise, and look at Yunt being racing further back and looking to get by. I think that was Alexandra Sene. So Yunt and Sene battling away, and James Johnson up to 8th position as well from the start. Twite has dropped back behind Ryan Callan, but 2 GT Mega guys at the front of the field. It's looking pretty good for them.
Yeah, absolutely, that's exactly the comfort block that Calamise needed as well. He's got his teammate right behind Chris Butcher. Butcher being the main threat, I think, in this race. But right now, I'll have to take a look as the midfield all funnel through this boot section, as you so famously named it. The top 5 looking fairly consistent at the moment. Callan up to 11th after starting 12th. No, I'm a bit confused actually. Nuno. I'm not sure where he's got Nuno Silva.
Oh, Nuno Silva, yeah, that's a good point. If he wasn't caught up in that McNaughton start line incident, McNaughton should not have been where he was, and it certainly would have caused confusion for the field. It'd be interesting to see if Ben can get any news on that. But he's a lap down, and it looks like he just joined the grid, couldn't get it started or something. I don't know what he was doing. Nuno Silva has disappeared off my time screen. There he is, 16th position, so poor start from him. But anyway, the first user push to pass is causing some three wide action into turn 1. Callan is there, and so is Wiesenmuller, and Wiesenmuller has just about held off Ryan Callan, but Callan is having a look. Oh, and I think that was Callan in the wall. Yes, it was. Oh, it's going to be huge. Oh, he's just missed out, and I think that was Vinicius Ferreira in the background as well. And Callan, has he stalled?
I think he may have. He's barely moving, and that's going to be from a bad weekend to a horrendous one. It's been a downward spiral for the Brit, and of course one of the innovators here at TPS, and it's so unfortunate for him as well. But back at the front of the field, this is really open at the battle. Danny Asprey up into P12. He's taking a look at him now. There's Nuno Silva in P14, so it's not the end of the world for him at the moment. But back at the front, look at Butcher now. He's not letting the GT Amigas run away with this at all. He's definitely keeping them in close company, and I'm sure this one's going to come down to the wire, or as long as it can do, because Calamise just 0.8 seconds away, and that's within push to pass distance.
It certainly is. That's a definite push to pass territory, as we watch Butcher coming onto the main straight now, and he's riding on board with Butcher. Let's see what he's doing. Calamise sets the fastest lap of the race. He's in behind his teammate Tommy Nilsson, pulls out of the slipstream. He's having a look, and they're both having to defend, so interesting to see whether Butcher can get a cut back on either of them. But it looks like that Butcher is going to remain in 3rd position. We've got Ben Davis down the pit lane. News on Vinicius Ferreira.
Yeah, Vinicius Ferreira unfortunately he's quit because he had so much damage. He was following Nuno Silva trying to come through the field, and he just threw that flat out chicane after turn 1. He just lost the back end and went spewing off into the wall and had huge damage and had to quit. It was a great shame for him so early on in the second race.
It certainly is, and we've lost Ryan Callan as well, who obviously couldn't get the engine restarted after that incident. I'd love to know what happened to Adrian McNaughton, whether anyone hit him on the start line as well. So if we can get Ben endeavouring to find out what happened there, that'd be good. But James Johnson has made good progress up in 8th position. And actually, Ben's already got news for the Adrian McNaughton incident.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was doing. It looks as if he was sort of entered the game and then went off and did something. It was just sitting there in his grid slot, ready for the formation lap. And he obviously came back just in time, and he just pulled out of the way of the leaders. So luckily, no one really. The first couple of rows moved slightly round him, but I mean there was no real contact, and he managed to get out of the way of everyone else. So thank God for that. I'm not quite sure what he was doing. That'll be an interesting post-race interview.
I have to say, Liam, it looked very odd indeed, didn't it? So it'll be interesting to see what his what his excuse for that kind of behaviour is. I think just simply because of the danger element of that we'll have to investigate that one closely. But it looked very strange, didn't it, Liam?
It did indeed. I think a lot of guys were actually clenching. Probably Chris Butcher may have actually been shouting something down the microphone, because that was extremely dangerous. Butcher was just streaming up to the back of him. The green was off, and the next thing the Fox just climbed out of the way very close to this one. Yeah, they have to see what happened there. But I think that was his danger.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're going to lose Liam there, and we did, unfortunately. But it did look very strange, that McNaughton incident, but you never know what's going to happen in these sort of races, and McNaughton, unfortunately, not quite paying attention, or was distracted by something important. Hopefully his house was on fire, or something equally important. I don't mean hopefully his house was on fire, but something of equal importance. As Tveit was all over the back of Wiesemuller for a moment then, and I was hoping to see perhaps an overtaking opportunity between those two, but we didn't get to see it. Over the line, look at Tommy Nielsen and Calamise, side by side into turn 1. Calamise on the outside, Nielsen on the inside, and Butcher's going to pick up the pieces of this battle in a minute, you know. And and there goes Butcher! Is he down the inside? He's got to run. I don't know whether he's going to be able to hold it. Calamise sweeps in front. So Butcher is definitely going to pick up the pieces here, and Jesper Talborg is no slouch in behind. So all in contact between Butcher and Calamise, and I think Butcher, it's just a matter of time really, and he'd be better off letting Calamise get right up to the back of Nielsen once again. Sorry, Nielsen get into the back of Calamise. Of course, I've got them the wrong way round. And if he can let that happen, then he might have a better opportunity at overtaking. But Butcher trying to pick up those pieces, and it's tight as anything. Tight as how much those people were clenching perhaps at the start line incident. But I do like that from Dean. That's a great quote. But anyway, we'll just have a quick check further down the top 10. David Yunt and James Johnson battling away, but Yunt's still holding off Johnson for that position. Henderson still in front of Wiesemuller. Those two were sparring away in race 1, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top there. Tveit and Silver has been resolved in Tveit's favour.
Sorry, Toby, we've got Butcher going past Tommy Nielsen for second place. Nielsen ran wide, and Butcher just straight past.
Oh, but Nielsen's having a go! Nielsen's having a go! Look at this from Nielsen! That's not going to work. Butcher's going to say thank you very much. I'll have the inside line then for turn 2 and 3. Great move from Butcher to take that back from Nielsen. Nielsen was way too late on the brakes. And once again, eagle-eyed Ben picking out the battles, and now Nielsen will be unhappy about that, because that allows Calamise to get away. And you'd have to say, from this position, 1.2 seconds, it's going to be difficult to see any other victor. I know it's very early on, up 7 of 25, but let's see what the gap is for Butcher to Calamise.
Well, it's not very much at all. We'll see what it is properly next time round, or as it goes through the second sector. There was 1.2 last time out. I mean, it's very interesting because now Nielsen isn't pulling away dramatically from Jesper Talborg. So if he slips even further, I think GT Mega's reign of dominance could be coming to a slow and steady close if Butcher can just keep on the tail of Ivar Calamise. He's got no Tommy Nielsen to worry about now. There's 1.3, so that's extended a little bit, probably just because of the manoeuvre. So now it's just a flat-out race between those two out front.
Certainly is. We'll just drop back on this Henderson, Wiesemuller and Tveit battle. Wiesemuller and Tveit still side by side through almost every corner, it seems. Further front, oh, look at this! Look at Talbog up the inside of Tommy Nilsson. This is going to be a tight squeeze, and Talbog does it, but is Nilsson getting the cut back through 2 and 3? He's going to have a go. Oh, contact between the two. Nilsson's off! Look at that from Nilsson. I don't know where he is. There he is. Oh, huge!
And here comes David
Out!
Company. Is he out? He's out.
He's out! Look at that from Tommy Nilsson. Can you believe it? And that's the end of his race, Liam. Ah, just unbelievable.
From a win in the first race to retirement in the second, but one man who unfortunately, due to even though their teammates may actually be, well, you can see slamming to the wall, just no chance of reconciliation there. But Ivar Calamies must be, has a little bit of a smile on his face, to be honest, because now he has a chance, a better chance than any other driver, to make up the ground he lost in race 1. He's leading the race. The man who won the last race and his teammate Tommy Nilsson is out of the race, so he's going to gain even more ground on his lead, providing he can keep Butcher at bay.
Yeah, providing he can keep Butcher at bay is probably the key sentence of the day. Well, that rhymed. That was fun. We've got Ben Davis in the pit lane. Regarding that incident, our expert analysis.
Not sure about expert, but there you go. But yeah, I mean, it just looked as if he just was not happy to give that position to Talbog at all. I mean, he had it, Jesper had it completely sewn up. He came up the inside of him and completely ahead of him, fully passed. And then Tommy Nilsson got a slight run on him. He was trying to do a Mark Webber at Eau Rouge, and it just did not work out at all. Really, it's single file through that flat out chicane. Contact was made as he was, you know, just at the back bumper of Jesper's car. It was nowhere near trying to make a pass. And that's possibly some frustration, possibly some desperation, lack of patience or something, but a misjudgment from Tommy Nilsson unfortunately cost him any points here in this second race. Yeah,
that's the end of Nilsson for this particular race. So Calamies will be certainly, as you say, he'll be rubbing his hands together with glee. One person that has benefited, of course, Chris Butcher, is moved up into second place now. So 2 seconds for Chris will take him right back up the field, and of course Talbog, as we just saw him being overtaken by Alexandre Sene, so we'll keep an eye on that battle. James Johnson still holding off Henderson, and Visa Muller and Tveit are very close together. It's a good champ in Tveit actually in that BMW livery car. He's going back through on the inside of Visa Muller, giving him enough room, trying to go around the outside. There's you can go sideways, oh, Visa Muller! Look how sideways he is, he's just holding on. And Tveit slips through now on the inside, and Visa Muller have to give him the room as they come into the fast left-hander at the final corner. And I'll try not to be dyslexic about that. Sene and Talbog. Sene still staying ahead of Talbog in third place, which is an interesting turnaround from race 1. Talbog, you'd have to say, looked the quicker of the two, but and Butcher is closing on Calamies as well. That was a scruffy lap from Calamies.
Yeah, it's not like we're used to seeing, and he may be just yielding to the pressure. We saw him towards the end of last race get a little bit squirmy, but we're only 10 laps into this one, so not even halfway yet. And that gap has come down 3 tenths already since we last checked. Butcher is a man on a mission. He's pulled out a second gap already to Alexandre Sene. And I'll tell you what, if Sene can hold off Jesper Talbog, get a podium position, that'll be so good for Alexandre Sene. He thoroughly deserves it, as we said earlier. A very consistent driver, and it's good to see him back in the top 5. So a podium for him would be good. You can see, oh no, that's Nuno Silva going for a spin there in P13. Completely pirouettes around. I hope he hasn't stalled it. Yeah,
this was on replay just now. I just saw Silva's dropped down through the field. He's obviously lost out quite a few positions. He was just behind Vietemüller, you know, and he's dropped down now to 13th position. So Silva from 11th to 13th. He's not lost too much, but he's got some work to do from there. We'll go back to live action. Tveit's got the better of Vietemüller, look, and in front of them. Oh, it's so close between these three. Johnson and Henderson, you could throw a towel over them, quite frankly. And Henderson going through on the inside of Johnson, and he's trying to draft Junt, and Junt's gone very defensive very early indeed. Johnson's going around the outside. This could be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that, it's going to get very close indeed. You can see Junt somehow avoiding contact there, and Tveit has now got himself thoroughly in the mix just behind as well, and Henderson goes off, and he may lose a bit of ground to Tveit and Vietemüller. Vietemüller was seen at the other side of him now in terms of attacking, and you know, last race we saw a lot of defending from him, and now you're going to see the opposite and see what he's got in the bag in terms of attacking. But so that battle between Johnson, Henderson and Junt is only getting hotter, because Johnson, of course, came second last race. This man has raw pace, and he's going to want to try and replicate that during race 2.
Ivanavara's DNF'd. I'm not quite sure why that's happened. I'm sure Ben will endeavour to find out for us. Brandon Warren once again is a long way down as well. Ocker Clint in 21st. We've got an interesting battle between Ray Lilly and Glenn Kabis. I will just quickly jump back to that battle just to have a quick look. Although we've got Van der Velt and Van der Ven having a battle between each other, and that's behind them. Is that McNaughton trying to unlap himself? If it is, he's got to be a bit careful. Oh, he tags the back and causes a bit of damage. Van der Ven is a little way behind. He's in front, sorry, excuse me, and he's trying to have a go at Enderman. Nothing happening there. Ray Lilly is dropped off the back of Kabis at the moment, so Lilly is still in 90th place. We'll just jump back to the front of the field now, because Calamies is set a couple of quick lap times, and Butcher's off!
Butcher.
Yeah, Butcher's off, and it looks like Sene has managed to get back through on him. Let's have a quick look at this on replay. I think Butcher had already made a mistake, you know, because Sene obviously cruising up to the back of him, and then Butcher just runs wide. Oh, he got squirmy under the brakes, that's why.
Yeah, it's over that crest of that hill, as I said earlier.
So Butcher thinking about the breast of the hill and not concentrate quite as much on his racing as perhaps he would like. He is following the THR purple car, so the purple person in the purple car ahead of Chris Butcher. And Talborg in 4th place has not been able to capitalise. He's dropped back a little bit from Butcher, you'd have to say. And Kenneth Yeoman in a race of his own in 5th. In front of this battle, it's now going to be a 5 train of cars, you know, at some point in the near future, but that really has allowed Calamies to escape, hasn't it, Liam?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the gap already is up to 2.2 seconds, and again, just everything's falling into place for that championship leader, and Ivar Calamies, providing nothing catastrophic happens and we don't put a curse on it like we've done before, then Calamies should theoretically win this one at the moment. But that train of 5 cars is going to be extremely hotting up. And you can see Henderson having to go defensive now around the outside, and he's saying that he's going to perhaps make that work. Johnson through textbook stuff there. I don't think that was a push to pass, but nonetheless, James Johnson definitely on the attack and wants another good result here today. He's having a great consistent run here.
Certainly has to fight looking for a way through. There's no way through there, but yeah, he's had a great result in race 1, and it's obviously a track that suits him. Oh, look at this from Spite! That was brave! Up the inside he goes of Henderson, tags the side of him, but that's about as best he can do. Wrong button. I meant to do that one. We got there now. And Spite all over the back of Henderson. He's got some work to do. Oh, Henderson run wide! Spite will have the inside line for the right-hander here. I think you'd have to say, oh, they're trying to battle it out, but Spite takes the position. Just about. Henderson looking again for a way through, and Beeson, you'd have to say, is not that far behind either, so these three having a great battle, and Johnson Yunt, that's a good battle as well.
Yeah, absolutely, this is really hotting up as well, so we are over the halfway stage now, and Johnson just keeps looking to push on, and push on he is doing, as he begins to try and catch David Yunt and move into the top 6, but Johnson once again established himself as a midfield contender this race. 2nd place will get him a nice healthy chunk of points, followed up with another top 5, and I'm sure THR will definitely be impressed with that one. You can see Henderson looking up the inside, and having all his own way, and ooh, that was very close there. Tveit coming under the attack now, and Tveit once again up there in 8th place. Eric Tveit having a very good run today. Beezamula behind Henderson, so of course having Tveit just slipping away slowly, but it's looking very good at the moment for James Johnson. He's looking to push on and perhaps try and push past David Yunt, but this is what we used to see in these stock cars, almost tailgating the person round, pushing their rear end, but then you lose so much downforce over the crest of the hill, and it just costs you a little bit of time, so I have to see what happens. But Yunt had a bit of a lock up there, but that train, just as we said earlier, only hotting up. Yeah,
there's more and more cars joining the back of it, and yeah, it's going to be a matter of time before we see a move, I think, made from one of those guys, and Butcher and Alexandre Senna here all over the back of each other. Actually, Calamies hasn't escaped so much the last couple of laps. It's still around 2.2 seconds, but I think half of me thinks that he's just retaining that gap, and look at this from Chris Butcher. He's going through, push to pass enabled, and that's done already. He's moves up into 2nd position. Talbot's having a think about making a move on Senna, but having a think about making a move and actually making a move are two very different things altogether, and they've got to be careful through those chicane curbs that they don't cut too much. Actually, look at this from Butcher, 1.8 seconds down from 2.2. He is making progress on that lead, So we'll keep an eye on that one. I think it was a scruffy performance. Oh, look at this! Side-by-side action all over the place. Dwight going through on Johnson. They're all over the place here.
Johnson somehow holding that inside line, and now Henderson may have a cheeky look as well. Henderson's got a fab run if he can just try hold of it. No, he can't, and Dwight very lucky there not to lose out. But this is what we're talking about, these trains, all these drivers. Very feisty, want to get the job done as soon as possible, and Young goes a bit wide, and now through almost. James Johnson, who didn't know where to look, goes just an overtaken move, trying to form everywhere. Every driver just trying to look for that small opportunity to get through, as Tveit now trying to get over James Johnson. But these guys all dueling away, and Kenneth Yeoman has got to be loving this. He's lapped out a 5-second gap between himself and David Young, so a 5th place for Kevin Yeoman at the moment, or Kenneth Yeoman, I beg your pardon, would be great considering the circumstances. If James Johnson gets past, if he could catch him, that would be good. But look how close they are, that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing that they haven't made more contact than they actually have, especially when you've got names like Eric Tveit in there. No offence to Tveit, but he's a name renowned for that kind of thing. But he's behaving himself so far, and he's making a move on James Johnson as they head down the pit straight. Let's see how this ends up. He's braking very late indeed into turn 1. Oh, and then nearly 3 wide as they turn into the corner. Tveit does do it on Johnson. Behind them, Wiesemüller somehow managed to keep that in a straight line. They are going to be caught by Dino Paolini here, and Paolini's only 2.5 seconds behind, and Butcher is closing on Calamise. He definitely is closing, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. But David Yunt, you'd have to say, oh, look at the sideways action from Tveit as well. You'd have to say David Yunt has done a great job so far from holding off from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yunt really has impressed us this afternoon. And it's just going to show that he can get these good performances in. He's currently 6th position, as you've stated, and he's going exceptionally well at the moment, like we've said, and he's just holding up Eric Tveit what he needs to be doing. I mean, the thing is, when you're in this position, you can't focus on the car behind. You've got to focus on the track in front and just make sure you're not making these mistakes, and that is what, considering once again we don't curse it, David Yunt is doing at the moment, and it's just leaving no room for Eric Tveit to go through.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Tveit actually looks the quickest of these guys, and the 6th place for Tveit would be... he'd be happy with that. What's happened to Sene? As I heard Ben just squeaking in the background. What's happened to Sene?
Oh, I think he just made a mistake. Oh, he got on the grass on the entrance to turn 1 under brake.
Oh, look at that! Oh, he's nearly going to wipe out Butcher. Oh, look at that! So Sene drops into 4th. He's got such a huge gap to Kenneth Yeoman that it won't affect him at all. But that's not the first time we've seen Sene making a mistake this season, is it, Liam? I mean, that's, you know, oh, and look at this. Butcher down to 1.2 seconds. He is on fire, and Calamise is being held up a little bit by Mike Bell. Oh, contact! And Mike Bell not making that easy at all for Ivar Calamise. And I think Mike Bell will be have to be a little bit careful there what he's doing. And he lets Butcher through straight away. That won't impress Calamise at all. And these two, we'll keep an eye on them, but Butcher is definitely closing. He's within half a second now, I think. Or certainly about 8/10.
Definitely looking that way at the moment, but I mean, it's going to be interesting. Butcher seems to be reeling him in, like we said, and just chipping away at the lead. If Calamise does not win now and Butcher wins, only he will be the man to break the 7-win streak of GT Amiga. But Calamise will not have gained any maximum points this weekend. He will be slowly slipping away. With title contenders finishing in front of him, that's not what he wants. But this is just going back to this fight we're viewing at the moment, and you can see Henderson diving out to the inside. We haven't really seen many, albeit push to pass attempts at the moment. So I'm wondering if they're saving them for perhaps the last 5 laps or so when it's actually going to become crucial, because you know that this train isn't going to separate. For instance, if Henderson does find a way past James Johnson, he's got Tveit and Yunt in front. So using a push to pass would be pointless because Henderson would still be clinging on to him. So
well, you say that. I mean, equally they could all be using the push to passes at the same time. They're all in sync, so it looks like they're not using push to pass, but they actually are, which could be the alternative. But certainly, I mean, because there's 25 laps, that you've got plenty of time to be able to save up those push to passes, especially because as Henderson runs wide, he's going to have to be careful if he doesn't get taken by Wiesemüller. But they've got push to passes. They've got more time to save up those push to passes here. The average speed is a little bit lower than we've seen, and Nuno Silva's quit. So interesting to see why that's happened. But I think Ben's got a roundup of all the retirees so far down in the pit lane, and It's interesting that we've lost quite a few guys actually today, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, we heard about Vinicius Ferreira just losing the back end. Ryan Callan, I think, spun and stalled. I'm not quite sure what happened to Thomas Ford. The replay wouldn't work. I can't get a hold of him. Tommy Nielsen, obviously having that little dice with Jesper Tolberg, causing his fate. Even Navarro, again, the replay wouldn't work. Good old laptop. And Nuno Silva, just looked at the replay. It just looks as if he sort of came into the pits and just pressed escape. So he obviously probably had damage or something. Oh, side by side. Oh, you can't go side by side there.
The other person that we've seen retire, Ben, is Philip Antonio just now. So if you can find out some information on that, that'd be good. Not quite sure why he's retired, but that's a relatively recent thing as well. But anyway, James Johnson all over the back of Yunt. And how many times have I said that? And equally, up at the front, Chris Butcher has just had his gap extended between himself and Calamies. So Calamies, either he's got pace in hand or Butcher made a small error on that lap. 20.8 is not anything particularly special from Calamies. But we'll see what happens as they cross the line this time round. I think Butcher perhaps has dropped back further. 21.0. Yeah, he's dropped back a touch more, but it's still within range, so a small mistake from Calamies could see the end of him. Tveit has now gapped that pack since taking that position, so I think Tveit will probably fancy his chances at sticking in 6th position, Liam.
Absolutely, I mean, I think that's crucial now for Tveit to get in front of Jürgen. Now look at this, and James Johnson, I think that's definitely a push to pass. Henderson follows in the footsteps. They go in towards turn 1. It's going to be very, very late braking from Henderson, and he's not going to be able to stick it there, just surrender it. Now it's going to be too dangerous otherwise. Johnson once again on the move, and now David Yunt has actually lost out to both of them. So Yunt's down to 9th after a Gallian effort, trying to defend for as long as he possibly could. It just hasn't quite gone the way he wanted, didn't quite have the pace, and now it's slowly slipping away. But nonetheless, the top 10 here for Yunt. He's very good indeed.
He certainly will, and actually he's got Wiesemuller behind him as well. So Wiesemuller, although still in the top 10, is not out of this battle yet either. And we could see a move from Wiesemuller later on. We think we've got Ben Davis news on Philip Antonio down in pit lane.
Yeah, it looks as if he did exactly the same thing as Alexandre Sene on the entrance to turn 1. It just put a wheel on the grass. He was probably wearing, because he was being lapped at that stage by, I think he was down by Henderson, but he wasn't really near him. He was probably just looking in his mirrors and not concentrating where he was. But there was absolutely no forgiveness at this track, a proper racetrack, as Martin Brundle would say. No tarmac runoff areas on the entrance to corners. A couple on the exits, but you know, any slight wheel off line and it could ruin your races. It has done for him, which is very unfortunate.
It is actually unfortunate for Philip Antonio. He's been dilly-dallying about whether or not he's going to rejoin the league and so on, but he has actually decided to rejoin the league, and it's good to have him back as Wiesemuller makes a move up the inside of Yunt. I think Wiesemuller is going to struggle to make the corner here, but Yunt trying to cut back and he isn't able to do so. So Wiesemuller does move up in front of him into ninth, so Yunt's lost 3 positions in the last couple of laps. Dino Paolini still in the background, still not that far away either, so plenty of time left for him to make a potential move. But it's a shame for Paolini that he's not been able to get onto the back of this group as soon as he would have liked. And look at this between Butcher and Talborg. They've dropped back further from Calamies, and Butcher is struggling a little bit to hold off from Talborg, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Talborg and Butcher here, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely going to be heading for a thrilling climax, but I think Talborg's definitely beginning to slowly reel him in now, with Butcher obviously trying to push and gain on Ivar Calamies. This may well open the door for the THR Green driver.
Certainly will, and of course we've seen Talborg, one of Talborg's tactics is to save a push to pass for the final lap, so we'll see whether he actually employs that tactic, but Ben's got some news on this battle.
Yeah, I've just been in car with Jesper Tolberg for the last couple of laps. It looks to me as if Chris Butcher is just knackered his tyres. Probably chasing hard after Calamies in the early stages of this race. He's probably just pushed them too hard on this technical circuit, and he's really looks to me as if he's really struggling everywhere. I mean, the exit out that last corner on the last lap was so bad. He used to push the pass to try and defend from Tolberg, but I think it's. Yeah, I don't think Jesper will save his push to pass to the last corner of the last lap. We saw. I've completely forgotten who it was. Tried to do it out on the last corner of the last lap, and he didn't actually. Oh, it was Jesper. It was Jesper on James Johnson. Yeah, it didn't work. because the start-finish line isn't far enough up the straight, so I don't think he'll do that tactic this time round.
Okay, so you don't think it's beneficial to do so because the start-finish line isn't close enough? Oh, sorry, isn't far enough away.
Yeah, indeed. And we've just seen Van der Velde off the circuit. Not sure what happened there. I'll look at the replay.
Van der Velde, okay. Yeah, let us know what happened. In any case, Wiesenmuller has got ahead of Junt and Paolini and Enderman. Sorry, that's Mike Bell being lapped, so it's not anything to do with Enderman. Kevin Enderman is in 12th position. Van der Ven in 13th. Danny Asbury is behind the lapped Brandon Warren. I want to know what happened to Warren in both races. Actually, he was whinging that he someone made contact with him in turn 1 and he had to cut the track and got a stop-go penalty. But I wonder if the same thing happened to him in this race. That would be incredibly unlucky if it has. Glenn Kabis in 15th position he's still there. I pressed the wrong button, excuse me. I pressed enter instead of plus. But he's still in 15th. He's ahead of Ray Lilly, who is ahead of Van der Velde, who Ben decided was just off the track just now. So Van der Velde is one of the last of our runners, actually. Brandon Warren, it looks like he's in 19th place, and Philip Antonio might actually score a point here, so I wonder if that's half the reason he retired. Ben's got some news on Van der Velde.
Yeah, I just had a quick look at the replay as to why he was off the track. He was having a bit of a battle with Mr. Duracell, Ray Lilly, and he just lost the back end on traction. He's obviously trying to get away from Ray Lilly. Lost the back end a bit and just touched the grass, and that sent him spinning. Luckily, didn't have too much damage. He went sort of up the bank as opposed to into a barrier, so should be able to continue. And good on him for doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still in the points, of course. So some points on your debuts, nothing to be sniffed at. And of course, we saw that with Talbot and Nuno Silva when they came into the league, and Danny Asprey as well is going to get some points here in 14th position. And this battle between Wiesenmuller and Junt, it's the closest one on the track as the field come through to the penultimate lap. Just one lap after this remaining.
Take a look at Butcher and Talbot. Actually, they're only 2/10 apart. Now this is, I think we've totally missed this one past our eyes. As you said, you've got 1.5 laps remaining or so. It's going to be interesting to see if Jesper, as you say, saves that push to pass. He's very sneaky with his tactics, but I wouldn't want anything past him if he goes for a late manoeuvre, and that final stretch would seem to be the opportunity to do it. But right now he just needs to keep Chris Butcher in close company and hope for the best.
Butcher's got to be careful, because if Talbot is saving a push to pass for that final lap, final corner, then Butcher would be better off saving his push to pass for the final lap, final corner. But if Talbot is going to use his push to pass, because obviously he's going to use a push to pass on that main straight, it takes 2.5 minutes to recharge, which is too long for a lap. So Butcher, if he's going to use it now, won't have it corner. So Talbot needs to be careful. Has Butcher used it? Yes, he has. So Talbot, if he's got it saved up, this is his tactic. He's going to use it at that final corner on the final lap and have a go at Chris from there. I think Chris, using the push to pass then, I think that is a wise decision. We'll see what happens now.
Yeah, going to have to wait and see. Of course, the thing is, both of these guys now want to take as many points as they can in order to try and get as far up as they can in the title ladder. And Talbot went a little bit wide down. He's going to lose some time. Butcher just needs to keep on his line and hopefully bring home second position. And of course, push to pass. You need to be around a second away to try and get any sort of gain out of it. But as you know, Ben said, that start-finish line is closer than some of the tracks we've been to, and it won't have too much of a boost. You've got to be literally right under their rear wing for it to have any sort of effect. This
will be interesting. Ray Lilly, former THR driver, and there's 2 THR drivers coming through. Actually, Ray did an exceptional job there of getting out of the way. Well done to Ray there. Didn't get involved out the way, and sensible driving, so well done to Ray, as Butcher and Talbot, excuse me, are coming through. But it's going to be win number, God knows how many I've lost count, for Ivar Calamies. I think this is win number 4 of his season, and he's done a great job to get into that first position in race 2. Chris Butcher does take second position from Jesper Talbot. Alexander Sene, after dropping back from that battle with his own little spin, is in 4th position, so well done to Sene for recovering in 4th. Yerman, in a race of his own, in 5th place. He's going to come through. Tveit also the same after getting past the Johnson, Junt and so on battle. Johnson is going to come through in that 7th position. Henderson just ahead of Wiesenmuller, and Junt is just going to hold off Paolini, I think, for that 10th position and does so. So well done to Junt for retaining that top 10 position, and Dino Paolini in 11th. And through in 12th position is going to come Kevin Enderman, who's following his teammate through, and Van der Ven, Davy Van der Ven, is going to come through in 13th position. But another win for Ivar Kalamies, Liam. It was never really in question after he got that gap at the start, really, was it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, he got out there, which is what he needed to do, held it, and albeit it's not as dominant as the other victories, we've seen 10-11 seconds, 2.8 seconds isn't a realistic lot, but the point difference will be. Because now he's, he had a poor first race by his standards, unfortunately, caught up in an incident at the start, and he needed a strong result here to try and regain those points and climb back. His teammate who took victory in the first race, Tommy Nilsson, did not finish, so he's already gained points on him there, and of course Tommy is second in the championship, and then Ivar comes out and wins again, so still GT Mega unbeaten. This is just an incredible run by them.
It certainly is. I mean, we saw one or two guys coming across the line there, Danny Asbury, Glenn Cabis, the final guys on the lead lap. Then we had Ray Lilly, who got out of the way so well of Butcher and Talborg, Van der Veld, Mike Bell and Brandon Warren, the last of our runners. So only 19 runners at the end. Pretty disappointing actually from a field of 30 that we lost 11. But they all had their tales of woe, and it'd be interesting to hear from all of the drivers. As if we can get as many drivers as possible into the broadcast booth, that would be excellent. I'm sure I'll send Ben down the pit lane to go and search for them, and just Ben, if you can go and ask anyone, pretty much anyone, to jump into the channel, that'd be great. So we round out the two races. We've had a great day racing here. Butcher taking 2 second positions, of course. But 2 more wins for GT Amiga, different drivers, different sides of the coin. It's been a topsy-turvy day. We've seen a couple of different pole sitters as well. We'll just take a quick break, just watch the wonderful video that Ryan Callan made for us, and then we'll head back for the driver interviews. Okay, after that video we've got some guys in the broadcast channel, and we're going to talk to one or two of them, but I think Ben's got hold of Chris Butcher.
Yeah, Chris, that must be a very pleasing race meeting for you. You got pole position in the first race, a very eventful first race, finishing with a second place, very great recovery drive, so nearly another pole position for race 2, just pipped in the end by Calamis. But yeah, for that second race, were you pushing really hard at the early few laps? It looked to me as if you'd sort of worn out your tyres a bit. That's why you're struggling to hold off Jesper, but you did so in the end.
Yeah, I did. You're right. I was pushing really hard because I could see that I was catching calamies, and yeah, I burned the tyres off a little bit when it really mattered, and allowed calamies to get the gap. And yeah, from there it was just keeping it on the track, not making any mistakes, and keeping Jesper behind. Using push to pass at the right time as well to make sure I didn't get a launch past me. But it wasn't too difficult. But THR had a good race both rounds, I think. James did really well to get on the podium for the first time this season in race 1, and well, generally the entire team had a great event.
Yeah, definitely. Very strong performances from all different THR teams. How do you reckon this performance has sort of put you in terms of the championship? Are you hoping to repeat this kind of performance for the remainder of the series?
Yeah, I think I can do it. I'm feeling a lot more confident with this new wheel now, so no more excuses about my my pedals screwing me over. It's going to be difficult to get into 3rd place, which is where I really wanted to be by the end of the season. So I'd be happy to get back into the top 5 now after the bad couple of rounds I just had.
Fair enough. Well done today, indeed, and I hope the repercussions after the race 1 aren't too severe for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Liam's got hold of Alexandra Senni down in the pit lane.
Yeah, so Alex, quite a varied weekend for you. How was that overall out there today?
Hello guys. Well, it was good, I guess. It's my best race until I start to race with you. I would like to thank Chris Butcher because he sent me his setup, and I feel so good with that setup. So about my race, the first one, I didn't qualify very well. So I don't know how. There is some accident, but in a few laps I were at the top guys on maybe top 3 or 4. I'm not sure. So I had some accident with Robert. Well, but I could back to the race and at least finish in 6th, so it was good. The second one, finally I made a nice race until my tires get too much warm, you know. So I start to miss too much time, you know. So in one of them, that break point, I lost control of my car. So, well, I was lucky because nobody was behind me, and so I could reach 4th place. It's really good. It's really good because the level is so high. Wow, it's a nice race. It was a nice race.
Yeah, that's been really only put you out of contention of a podium, but 4th place nonetheless is a great result. So well done, Alexandre.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Yeah, I think he's gonna take it easy between these 2 races. Of course, we've had some other good results today so far, and of course, Robert Wiesenmuller, potentially one of the stars of the show of race 1, really did. He really did the fight to one or two of the drivers there.
Yeah, I was trying to keep in position, but I really couldn't keep up with these guys. They were all much quicker than me. So I tried my best to keep the position. Unfortunately, I had a couple of incidents, also with Alexandre. In the end, I came 7th, I think, in the first race, and yeah, it's a pretty good result for me.
Yeah, it was a good battle between all sorts of different drivers, and you had a decent battle in race 2 as well, and you snuck into the top 10. You must be happy with the results so far from today.
Yeah, it's been a bit worse than the last round at Velopark, where I could challenge Jesper. But it was still okay, and in the second race it was a really clean fight, especially Eric Twite. I have to say, he drove a great race. He made great passes, also against me, and I came 9th, so it's good. It's a good position. I hope I'm still in the top 5 in the standings, because this is my aim for the season.
Yeah, it's been a good season for you so far, so we'll just have a word with a non-THR driver first. I think, Ben, you've got David Yunt in the pit lane?
Yeah, in the pit lane indeed. David Yunt, a very strong showing, certainly in the second race in particular. I mean, you all stunned us at the last round, getting so high up on the in qualifying. How do you reckon your performance was this time round?
Well, I think it was quite good, but you know, I was confident at the start of the second race. I thought we could get something like top 6, and then into the first turn it happened something that I didn't really have. You could guess what it was. I had no force feedback, and I had to drive all the ways without it. I couldn't feel the car that much.
Did you not set the force feedback reset button?
Yeah, I've used my own Logitech settings, and it wasn't. I didn't assign one for resetting, so I've had like doing a truly train in front of everyone and trying to keep them behind. It didn't work for half the race, and then I just fell off and gave in, and trying to at least finish the top 10. So it just damaged the limitation of the race one where I went right, was a bad decision. I got kicked in the ass, then I was able to get back, and well, didn't do anything.
It was certainly a strong battle you had in race 2, and you did well to get into the top 10. So well done, David. So who else have we got? We've got James Johnson. Liam, do you want to have a word with James Johnson?
Yeah, absolutely. So, James, you had a very strong opening round, of course, taking second place. How was your overall weekend this weekend for you? Do you think that your team's made a lot of progress?
Well, it was third in the first round, yeah, but I think we made strong progress, especially after the the last round, when me and Chris had a terrible time with various incidents and problems. So to bounce back like this is it's much better, and it's kind of seems like we're on the up now.
Yeah, great stuff. And just talk us through like your second place. How was race 1 for you? I mean, that looked like a pretty good result for you out there today.
I don't know how I got through turn 1. It was just mayhem. Cars going left, right, everywhere. So I thought, I'll just get through this, and then I came out in 4th, and then Chris and Ivor kind of touched each other. So I thought, well, what am I doing in second after lap 1? So I thought, I'll just keep going, keep pushing, and then just keep trying to keep up with, Nielsen. I can't remember his name, but yeah. Just trying to keep up with him, because it was just so fast. THR Reddit are the best team after Rob said that the Green were after the last round, so not anymore.
Great stuff, then. So heading into, of course, the next round in a couple of weeks, what are your kind of ambitions then? Do you hope to try and challenge GT Omega once again?
I hope to build on my own race pace, because my quali pace has not been great, so yeah, I want to be able to get up but even further and challenge the GT Omega for wins and podiums, etc, etc.
Okay, great stuff. Have we got anyone else, Toby?
Yeah, 1 or 2 other drivers I want to talk to. Andy van der Belt, just a quick word from him, and obviously it's an interesting way of starting out your WSS career, and did you enjoy yourself out there today?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, I enjoyed it. My first race wasn't quite as good as I hoped to be. I got engine failure. But obviously in the second race I had a good pace, not as strong as the top 10 guys. But for the first time in this race, I had a good battle for a few rounds. I forgot which one I was driving to, but yeah, I'm happy with the results I have at the moment.
Yeah, it was a good sort of christening for you in the WSS, so we'll see you in future rounds as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can definitely bet on it.
Good, it's good to hear. So we've also got 1 or 2 other drivers. Mike Bell, Kevin Enderman, teammates, contrasting fortunes today. I mean, Kevin, up in 12th position in race 2, I think it was where you ended up, something like that, 12th or 13th, so good result for you, but Mike, it was a little bit contrasting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I had a very good start to race 2 and then kind of lost it all on my own quite early on and lost the splitter, so no coming back from that.
And Kevin, you got nearly into the top 10 in race 2. I mean, did you expect to sneak in?
Not really. Like, I struggled big time the last 2 races. I was driving in Curitiba and the first round, and this time was pretty well. Also, I had a get together with Ryan in race 1 at the start, so probably the reason why he lost his rear wing. So big sorry to Ryan if he hears that.
Yeah, I think he's gone to bed by now, but I'm sure I'll get the message across to him. So, thank you guys, and Jonathan Ockerclinth, a quick word from you. I mean, I think we didn't see you finish the first race. I don't know what happened to you in the second race.
I was pushing a bit too hard to try and catch up to Mike and Philip Antonia, and I lost it, and then I kind of overdrove it, and just before sector 3 I lost the car and hit the invincible wall on the inside, so the engine was gone then and race over.
That's tough, man. So hopefully you'll bounce back in the next round. A couple of race finishes would be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining us, and have a good break. You've got the Clio practice to do now, if you're doing the Clios, so get cracking with that. No more WSS practice for a short while. The of course Clio Superpole, or pre-qualifying, whatever you want to call it, is currently ongoing, and that's at the Essington track. So that finishes at Sunday. So get out of here and go and do that.
I certainly will do, because Mr. Dan Allison has just beaten my time, so I'll be back on that right now.
I think I definitely will as well, considering I'm 47th, I think, after like 4 laps of actual practice. So I think coming from work and a few hours of that, I'll be trying to actually be race instead of commentate for once, which should be a sight to see, to say the least. So
it probably will be, considering you'll have a bright pink car, I'm sure. So it'll be interesting to look out for that. But yep, I've got to do some laps myself. It looks like I was hoping to be in the top 10, but might not end up that way, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, Liam, just give us a quick summary of those 2 races that we saw today. I mean, action everywhere, but GT Amiga, 2 wins, you can't ignore it.
Absolutely, I think 4 words summarise that, and that's just touring cars all over. That is just a symbol of what this series is about. We had bumping all over the place, we had cars flying off, contenders dropping out the race, and new contenders being established as well. But through all of the chaos that ensued in both races, GT Omega still remain fairly dominant, despite what the gaps would have been at the end of the races. The points have just been absolutely incredible, and they're 8 races unbeaten now, and going into the next round, I think it's going to be time for someone who, maybe even James Johnson or Jesper Tolberg, who have, began to kind of get a rhythm now and get in these good, consistent results, could perhaps take the fight to GT Omega. So we'll have to wait. I think. What about your driver of the day then, Toby? Is there anyone that stood out for you particularly?
James Johnson has stood out for me today. He's had obviously that podium in race 1. It's changing fortune, perhaps changing quality from him from a couple of the earlier races. So I think it's got to be him, really. I don't know what you think, Ben.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't actually mean to press push to talk when I said yes. But yes, no, I definitely agree with that. James had a very, very, very strong race. I mean, as I was saying in warm-up, they just need to stay out of trouble, and that's exactly what he did in that first race, and that just played dividends. He was able to defend, put in some consistent laps, and get a podium, which is a great result, and another pretty strong showing in the second race. So yeah, he's definitely driving the day for me. Although actually we can't discount Chris Butcher, who challenged for pole position. Well, he got pole position, then challenged for it in the second race, and 2 second places, which very strong also from Chris. So actually, THR Red get the drivers of the day.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they've all done a good job at the front of the field. So they managed to stay mostly out of trouble as well. So thank you very much for joining me today, Ben. One more quick word from Liam. I mean, we've got the next round of the World Supertech Series in just 7 days. Again, it's a double header, and that will be at the Jacarapagua Oval. Yay! So I'm looking forward to that one. What do you think?
I think it's definitely going to shake up the championship. It's good to kind of throw that track in there. I think maybe some drivers are going to love it, some drivers are going to hate it. The guys who perhaps run the NASCAR and iRacing are going to love it, and some people who just prefer the road racing kind of touring car aspect are not going to do so well. But I think one thing's for certain, that you may going to need a pace car a couple of times in that one and try and get one sorted. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think it's definitely going to be a race you don't want to miss. Yeah,
they might have to stick in a full course caution yellow into the rules at some point, but I'll figure something out. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting place to go to. An oval track, of course. It's stuck in the season because of the fact that we've got it in the game by itself. So I am looking forward to it, and it should be should be some interesting racing. It's also one of the hardest ovals I've ever seen in my life, and does require some serious talent. So good luck to everyone who's racing in just 7 days' time, which is where you can catch us. But thank you, Ben Davis, Liam Jenkins, and obviously from myself, Toby Davis. It's been a great day racing at Santa Cruz do Sol. So until next time, until then, thanks for watching.